the first radical Islamist communist mayor of New York City.
Thanks, Bernie. By any chance, could you spare some change? I promised a bunch of free stuff and I have no idea how to pay for it.
I don't, but you should stop begging for money like you're some kind of homeless panhandler. Anyway, I'd like to know your plan to make NYC a better place to live.
Right, let me show you. As you know, 9/11 was Islamophobic. The day after radical Islamist terrorists crashed a plane into the Twin Towers, Americans for no reason felt uncomfortable sitting next to men wearing turbans. So, I want to make it illegal to remember 9/11.
I have to be honest, Sauron, that's a bad idea. Besides, I don't even think you can make laws.
That's because the system is Islamophobic. I'll call the New York governor right now. Hi, Kathy. Will you help me make it illegal to remember 9/11?
No, that would require me to do my job, and I don't like to work.
Ugh, could you at least spare some change? I made so many promises I can't deliver on. Damn Islamophobists! Alright, my next idea is prison reform. The New York prison system is full of people who don't deserve to be there. Did they commit felonies? Sure. Are a lot of them violent recidivists? You bet. But they're also victims. That's why I want to get rid of the NYPD, so nobody can ever be arrested for being a victim again.
I like the idea, but I don't think you'll get it done without help. And I know just who to ask. Alexandria, would you support Zoran's prison reform?
And could you spare some change? There's so many things I said I could do but can't.
Well, I am the smartest woman in the world, but no, sorry.
Oh, so you're Islamophobic.
Zoran Mamdani, congratulations on being the first radical Islamist communist mayor of New York City.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Newman, aka Good Lawgic. I hope you all had an excellent weekend. Mine was is still sort of. I know that like during football season, I usually come in here on a Monday and I'll ask you all about your weekends and I'll update you as to how things went in football. And normally that takes priority. This weekend happened to be a very tough weekend. So even though it looks as if I'm about to win my guillotine league, which you would think would have me like in an amazing mood, I've been dealing with some starting Saturday night. Yeah. When everyone, if you're a fan of this show, you're likely a fan of Nate the Lawyer. You've probably heard that he is dealing with a very difficult medical struggle, specifically that he was diagnosed with a brain tumor, which he's supposed to have surgery to have removed on Wednesday. And he says it is life-threatening, but treatable. That's how he describes it. I have not spoken with him directly. I haven't called him. I've texted him. We've texted each other. He's responded. He actually shared with me a picture of his MRI, an MRI of his brain scan, and circled this big white area. There's an area he shared. There's a picture he shared online, which is one picture. Out of respect for him, I'm not going to share the picture he shared with me, which is a different MRI from the top, which was showing the mass there, which needs to be removed. And I noticed on the other side of the MRI, there was actually a black area. And I asked him if the black area is the part of his brain which tells him that I'm always wrong. Which was, I hope he took it for the joke it was intended. But yeah. Anyhow, so that's scary, but God willing, at least he'll be, I'm hopeful and God will help him through this process and he'll be okay. Still scary. It's still frightening. And then I dealt with a personal tragedy also. One of the reasons I didn't stream yesterday is it was a tragedy which struck very close to home, where a friend, a friend of the family, we'll call it that, one of my neighbors, has a daughter whose husband's car was struck by a tree, causing him to crash and killing him. He was just driving down the street. A really good young man, 29 years old, 3 young children, ranging in age between 5 and a year. And It's horrible. It's just a horrible, horrible thing. So it really kind of makes football seem stupid in contrast to, like, real life stuff that everyone is always dealing with. And this has been affecting me. I mean, like I said, this girl this shouldn't call her a girl, she's a young woman. Was widow, is like grew up in the house here. Like, she's, if not my daughter's best friend, she's like one of her two best friends. Like, it's the last 20 years they've been closest of friends. So that was just horrible. Yeah. So that's sort of like playing in my mind, just getting that out there so you all understand that, like, I don't know. Maybe it's been affecting the mood in my home, as you would expect. And yeah, we have a show to do. We have work to get done today. So I just wanted to share it with you all in case those of you who are in the football league and wondering why, and you're expecting anything from me. Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm in a mood tonight, where it's like, even though it's a weird thing, I never thought that, like, I was really looking forward to this weekend also. But anyhow, there is a feud that's been a brewing in MAGA. And frankly, much, if not all of it, a considerable percentage of it relates to Epstein. Now, this feud has been a brewing for a while. And there's basically the fractures that are happening relates to folks thinking that Trump is not doing enough, which, like my guest the other night, Rich Barris, was basically saying he's not, that he promised he was going to be breaking the system, and he just seems to be comporting with it. He seems to be going along with the same crap that we've been dealing with for, feels like forever. Maybe it has been. Maybe it literally has been forever. But certainly not what he's saying didn't live up to the hype. And that's not to critique as far as saying that he hasn't done a great deal. It's not to say that it would be better if Biden was here. That's a moronic take, obviously. But the question is whether he's doing enough. One of those people who thinks he's not doing enough is clearly Marjorie Taylor Greene, who he referred to as Marjorie Traitor Greene. And we're going to get to that shortly. But a large part of this, and when I was talking with Rich Barris the other day, he was talking about how the reason that the Epstein story is such a big deal is because releasing the Epstein files was a signal. It's kind of like a reflection of, are we doing business as usual or not? Is the government operating with the same shielding people, all that other stuff, or not? And the release of the files, it's not simply about Epstein, which unto himself is a horrific and terrible human being, a terrible person and those who were interconnected with him, certainly with respect to anything he did with girls, certainly should be exposed, humiliated, shunned, and charged. And I mean, every one of them should be exposed and shunned by society. All of us can agree with that. The issue is that Trump's position on this thing, which he's really started falling into this early in the summer and has held fast until recent changes, certainly, that's really a reflection that he's willing to just, continue hiding things, because obviously Epstein was interconnected with a whole bunch of very powerful people who would not want that file released. So the idea that you're going to stand there and protect not really him, because he's dead, obviously. There's no more justice that man can take from Jeffrey Epstein. But the idea that you'd be protecting those who are connected with him and his vile activities is horrific. And it's a reflection that, okay, well, if this is where you're drawing the line here, where else are we seeing that you're protecting people? So in that sense, Trump really did a very, very poor job of reading the room, reading the influence this would have on MAGA. reading the influence this could potentially have on his entire legacy. He just really failed to read it. He just really didn't understand that this is much more than Epstein, and that the answers that he gave there were wrong. There's no other word. The answers that he gave there were wrong. It was the wrong explanation. It was the wrong approach. Everything about it was wrong. Even giving him the benefit of the doubt, the way I have and continue to give him the benefit of the doubt, that nothing that he's ever done related to Epstein ever involved any of those vile activities with underage girls. And I still believe that in my deepest of hearts to this day. The approach that he took to this file, and let's assume, as I have, that I was, my assumptions about him are correct, that Biden and Merrick Garland and Comey and whoever was involved with this basically dirtied up the file enough to make him look far more guilty than anything he's ever done. His entire approach to this from day one should have been an admission, a mea culpa about the wrongness of the FBI and the DOJ and how flawed, how many errors that were just palpably visible in the file, and a commitment towards reinvestigating and double checking everything that was in that file before having a release, but a commitment toward releasing it. He never should have been attacking MAGA, which he did. He never should have been attacking anyone on this, which he did. And all these things were tremendous mistakes that he made, which harmed his reputation. It opened up the attacks for his critics. Notably, and I want to be clear about this, the Democrats who critique him are empty pieces of hot garbage. They are feces. They are worse than feces. They're the feces that get stuck in the grooves of your shoe, that you stand on the side of the sidewalk and you're scraping your shoe trying to get it out and it just won't come out. And just when you think it's clean, you walk into your house and you still smell it. That's the Democrats who are coming after him, because none of them gave the slightest darn about Epstein for 4 years that Biden was there. None of them even gave the slightest darn about Epstein when he came up now. When Bongino and Kash Patel came out and started complaining and started giving their ridiculous song and dance about what was going on with Epstein, none of them cared. You can look back at it. The only time they started caring about it was when Obama's name was being thrown out there and the corruption that he was involved in back in late 2016 into early 2017. As soon as Tulsi Gabbard dropped that, much as they did when Trump was running for president, you may recall that every single time there was some bad news with Hunter Biden, some public new exposure about the corruption of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, the next thing you knew, there's a new breaking story about charges against Trump. As if they sort of had, or some new claim against him every single time. They couldn't end the news cycle with Hunter Biden. No. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump. Similarly, we see them do the exact same thing here today, where as soon as we hear about Obama's corruption being exposed and his ridiculous Operation Crossfire Hurricane and all this other idiocy as far as how he was corruptly trying to subvert Trump's first administration, as soon as he's exposed for weaponizing his intelligence agencies, his heads of his intelligence agencies, whether you're talking about Brennan and Clapper or Comey, whomever, and then the underlings, Peter Strzok, etc. As soon as there's something negative about them, all of a sudden they start pivoting. Now they care about this thing. Let's care about this thing. Let's just focus on Trump. Let's just focus on this. Look over here. Look over here. Here's a story we can tell you about how terrible we're trying to pretend Trump is. So none of them are genuinely, none of them care about these victims at all. At all. Because if they cared about them, they would have cared about them for the last 4 years. 6 years. I mean, we never heard about them from them at all. But as soon as they saw, like, oh my gosh, there's some actual genuine heat that, is being generated against the sacred cow Obama, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, let's just lock in on Epstein now. Well, there's a big scandal here with Epstein. So whenever you hear any of them with their whiny stupidity, where they're trying to claim that no, this is the proof, and here we go, and here's the release of the emails, and Trump is hiding stuff, et cetera, just know that it's all hot garbage in the sense that they don't care about any of these victims. They're trying to deflect from their own humiliation, their own corruption, their own flawed policies, their own disgusting behavior. And they know that there's going to be some blowback to Democrats, which is why they don't really want it released. But they feel like this is a way to help insulate the sacred cow from being further scrutinized. Just another way that Obama has shafted the United States of America. But I digress. The reality is that Trump dropped the ball with the way he handled this. And this will stain his legacy if these files are never released. It will. This is a shadow. This will cast a pall over the way history remembers him if this never gets released. And I know he's changed his tune on that. We will talk about that soon. But it's not simply Donald Trump who has taken some blowback. Now there's actually blowback to other people. And that's where we're actually going to start right now with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly, who's someone that I admire and respect, dropped a clip where she said things about the Epstein case, which has gotten her into some serious hot water. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. People saying he's not doing enough and things are not changing. Comparatively, a person who's 290, 300 pounds at 5'6", then complaining that 10 months of dieting exercise, he's only 260. How did it take to get that fat? I think you're making a fine point. You're saying that there's so much to do, and people are so angry at him that you can say, like, what the hell? Did you know how terrible our government is? How much he's been fixing? It's true, and it's spot on accurate. The issue, the response to this is, look. If we gave Trump 15 years in the White House, I don't think there's enough time to clean up all the corruption there. I don't think there's enough time to clean up the corruption there. I don't. So we're hoping he's going to work as quickly as he can and work on the key spots as much as possible. And perhaps we'll get a Vance administration, which will be able to pick up the ball and keep going in that direction. What gets MAGA irate is even more than how slowly this thing is fixing things has been taking. The fact that so few illegal immigrants have been removed. I don't want to see immigrants moved. I want to see illegal aliens. They're not even immigrants. I don't know what the hell flew through my brain that I said that. But that so few illegal aliens relative to the entire population of illegal aliens have been removed. But that's what bothers MAGA much more than that, is when he says things about where he stands, which seem inconsistent with what most of us believe we voted for. When he says things like, drop it on the Epstein file. And if you're still looking into that, you're not really MAGA. There's no reason for that. I mean, that's petty. Or when he starts taking a softer stance on removing illegal aliens, starts saying, hey, some people have been living here for 20 years and, a long time. And, we got to figure out what to do with them, which is not what we were voting for. That's not what we wanted him there for. That's what gets people. It's not that the process has been taking as long as it has. There are many who wish that he would break the process, that he would go rogue, so to speak, from what his presidential limits are. Frankly, to the extent that calls for ignoring the Constitution, I'm definitely not on board with that. But to basically use his powers and to break the norms while staying within constitutional limits, they have a point. They have a fair point. So his reluctance to do that has frustrated people. But far more frustrating is when he says some of the things that he's said, which really started over the summer. Some of the things that he said have been wrong. I don't need an apology. I just need him to say things better. You know, like I don't think anyone cares about the apology. We just want him to say, going forward, this is what we're going to do. And I was mistaken for this. That would be helpful. Even if he does, even if he leaves that part out, and then starts actively pursuing the agenda 47 as laid out and not watered down. First term, thank you for the generous chat. First term was all defense against the fake charge, then running against more fake charges. Second term, more defense will try and stay on offense. I think Trump is fighting a very good fight. His own followers are showing not a lack of intestinal fortitude. And I agree with you. And I think that some of his followers are a little bit. Some of them are asking too much. I do. I think some of them have expectations that are wholly unrealistic. But as we're looking at, and this is another thing that Rich Barris was talking about, you have to ask yourself, don't put yourself in my shoes. My shoes have walked too many miles. Put your feet in the shoes of someone who's a 20-year-old who voted for Trump in 2024 because it became cool to vote Republican, who maybe is different, a different kind of leader. You have to put yourself in their shoes, the shoes of the youth, and ask yourself, and we can tell them they're wrong. That's not going to help you in 2028. Telling people they're wrong for how they feel about him is not going to help you in 2028. So I can agree with you, they're wrong. But if all you need is 5%, 10% of people to basically think that he's wrong and disagree with you, and we're looking at Democrats controlling our entire government. So that's a frightening prospect. But I do want to get into what Megyn Kelly said and the blowback that she's gotten, which has been considerable. And this is related to Trump and Epstein, particularly Epstein.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely.
Okay, so 15 is not barely legal. That's not barely legal. Barely legal is 18. In some states, 17. But yeah, it's not barely legal. 15 is not. And don't give me. And some of you might Google and find that there's a state out there which allows things at 14, 15. But no.
Definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi.
So what she just said, she's gotten a lot of flack for that because it sounds as if, according to some people, she's making it like it's okay if he was, if they're 15, or it's not as bad. She's saying it's vile, but it's not, she sort of sounds as if that makes it not as bad. And she has gotten a ton of flack for this. So I'm going to tell you this. Harming anyone is wrong. Harming anyone is wrong. And she's gotten so much flack for this. If we pull up here, just one thing. This is definitely not true. This is just a stupid lefty, but it's all get thousands of likes, 51,000 likes. I'm calling it for the immediate resignation of Megyn Kelly. Anyone that openly supports the, yeah, okay. Seriously, the people who voted in the sniffer in chief. Yeah. How stupid is this? Hey, again, an adult thrown in prison because it is considered statutory R word. That's not considered Bailey legal. That was and she might try and defend it. I think this was a very poorly phrased thing by her. I don't think she's trying to condone it. I do think she's gotten a ton of flack for this. And anytime someone is trying, and they're trying to show out the hypocrisy here, because this was her in, well, I guess 2018.
You know, you feel as a victim. You feel a victim. To people who are going to be out there, because you know some are going to judge and say you were 15, you were 16, you were 17, you were a willing participant. Again, the legal age of consent in California is 18. So there's no consenting for a 14 or even a 17-year-old in these circumstances.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person...
And the point is that now all of a sudden she seems to make it to a whitewash activity with girls in their teens now compared to what she was saying several years ago. I'm going to tell you now, it's all vile. It is all disgusting. It is all evil. And I don't care if we're talking about a 16-year-old or we're talking about, 14-year-old. This is all gross, disgusting, disturbing, awful, sickening. And these people should go to jail. These people should go to jail. They're awful, terrible human beings. So, and basically, I think what she's trying to say there, I think what she's trying to get at is one person you have who is a murderer who shoots them in the head, and another person is a murderer who dissects them piece by piece and has them screaming in agony for 3 days until they finally die. So that's not, the first one is not as bad as the second one, but they're still both freaking murderers. So, the first one, the second one is obviously far more sick. And I think that anyone who's looking at what she's saying here in good faith and listening to what she's saying in good faith would recognize that she's not condoning it. She's not saying it's acceptable. I think that she's simply saying, hey, that's not what we didn't think he was the type who would be, torturing, who would be torturing people to death. He would just shoot them in the head. So that's how I understood what she said. I think that people who are trying to find a reason to come after her, I think they're looking to try and find a reason to come after her. But, yeah, they're both, either way, that the individual who's perpetrating either of these crimes is demented and should be locked away forever. And frankly, I think that cruel and unusual is something we should just forget about when it comes to them, if you ask me my opinion. Oh, guys. I don't give two duties about Epstein. Illegal aliens, ICE, Border Patrol, and DHS are being attacked outright with no backup. What is the solution? There are mayors and governors who outright insurrectionists. MAGA never votes in midterms. Show their lack of commitment. I'll tell you right now, I am with you that the illegal alien thing is the most important thing. I am still there. I am still with you. And the way he shut that border was miraculous. It was miraculous. And, I wish he'd be doing more on the deportation score. I wish that, we were deputizing people to just go rounding these folks up and just, but he's trying to work within the constraints of the Constitution and court process. And yeah. We also need to recognize, like Rich Barris is saying, he does the polling. That's why I had him in here. So when he's talking, he's not guessing as far as I can tell you what my opinion is. My opinion, I might feel is very special and important. And you might even think my opinion is very special and important. But the bottom line is that my opinion is not necessarily the opinion of many millions of other MAGA. So, to the extent that I put a priority here, my needs are not the same as someone who's in their early 20s. My concerns are not the same. So you sort of do need to make sure that you're following what your constituents put you in there for. And even if he's doing, well in a particular area that I like and you like, you and I might individually agree that's very important. And let's assume we're correct. Let's assume we're both right. You can't bludgeon someone into voting for you. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're not talking about voting for Trump, obviously. We're talking about really voting in the midterms. And then in 2028, likely for J.D. Vance. So that's what we're really ultimately talking about. Because if we lose the power, if we lose the House and or the Senate, and most people are expecting we are going to lose the House, it's that much more bogging him down. It's that much more bogging him down if he has to be dealing, because we lose the House with an impeachment. Which, if we lose the House, within 3 months of losing the House, there'll be impeachments. You know it, because that's what they do. So, and that's just going to slow him down. It's just going to slow him down. I think Trump may have played the Dems on the Epstein files intentionally. He has now flipped the tables on them regarding the release of the files. I know. But his messaging was brutal. This is Q Revere, who's throwing it in my face that he beat me in the Good Lawgic Football League. So I didn't get a good game, Joe, from him when I tarred him. I think in week 1. No, the good game, Joe, didn't come then. It's just coming now that my team is basically is all on injured reserve, and he's all excited that he managed to beat me. So go you. And frankly, now I gotta check before I close this out, even though football is stupid. Is it over? It is over. See, all I really care about, the only thing I care about, okay, with respect to football, is this is my final week, and I have officially, as Ice Run Joe, taken the guillotine title. So, yeah, I won. You can sit there. Now I can get back into the other regular fantasy football. Now that I got that prize, I can get back into regular football. I'm so sick of hearing about these so-called victims. You've heard of buyer's remorse. These women have seller's remorse. I do think that it's gotten overplayed, but Trump asked for this. He set himself up for this because it was something he talked about a lot. And then when the moment of truth came and people were like, no, that's not enough. We need more. And he even built it up. The moment of truth came in the summer, but they even built it up with the release of the Epstein files. So you can't come out there and basically say, hey, everyone, you got this big prize coming. You got this big prize. And that prize is much more than Epstein. Again, it's not just Jeffrey Epstein. It's that we are not any longer protecting the elites. That's what the Epstein files represented. To, oh yeah, we're totally protecting the elites, and how dare you? You're a jerk if you think otherwise. You're not really MAGA, and you're not really a follower of mine. You're not really a supporter of mine. To like the audacity of asking for it. So look, I will still go on record as telling you that Donald Trump is arguably the greatest president. I'm telling you right now, this is how strong a believer I am in Donald Trump. And I know that someone's going to clip me and play this back at me. I'll tell you right now, Donald Trump, you can make a very fair case that he is the greatest president in American history. That's how much I admire and respect this man. That's how much I admire and respect him. And easily in living memory. Not even close in living memory. And yes, I'm including Reagan. Much better than any president in living memory. So, that being said, I can be honest enough and tell you that he completely dropped the ball with this Epstein thing, because he promised it to us and then hyped us up of like, here comes the files, here come the files. And whether he did it or Bondi did it, whatever, it doesn't matter, because she is his executive branch. She's working for him. And that whole cluster fart of stinkeroonie type of release of the files, then down to Dan Bongino and the whole, he did it to himself and there is no files and there's nothing there. We're not giving you the files, and Kash Patel, and that entire thing was just awful, terrible, inexcusably bad, when no one was when it didn't have to be that way. Even if those files were corrupted and tainted, you say, hey, look, we're going to be double checking them and going through our sources, making sure everything is fine, and then we're going to release the files. There was no need to release in the first 6 months. There was no need for any of that. He just got heady and ahead of himself. He's like, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Nothing. Go away. You're a jerk for asking. You were never MAGA. You were never a real supporter. Like, defensive in a way that was embarrassing. What gets me upset is that I had to defend this man while still at the same time saying, hey, this was terrible what he did here. Terrible. Not because I think he did anything illicit with underage girls, but the entire way he's handled this story as president. Terrible. And I'm with OO guys. I don't care about this story that much. I care much more about him cleaning up the government. I care much more about policies that are going to help make Americans more comfortable, make life more affordable. I care much more about how he deals on the international scene with tariffs. I care about him having that. I care about him helping bring peace throughout the world. I care about so many other things. I care about the woke ideology. I care and stopping this transifying of our children. I care about the corruption throughout our government and the waste, billions, trillions of dollars of waste. I care about him setting America on a course that's healthier towards reducing our deficits. All of these things are far more important to me than Epstein. That's not to say I don't care about these victims. I do care about the victims. But if they have a problem with a particular individual, let them come forward and tell us about this individual. Whoever it is. So come forward, make your accusation, say, hey, this is what happened. None of them claim Trump did anything. Zero. But then they try to pretend, and the leftists among them try to pretend they're like, oh yeah, he's hiding it because he's in those files. It's like stupid. Really? Then you tell. Were you the one who was with him? Oh no, you were not. You either. Not you either. Not you either. None of you were. So that's my take on, with respect to where I, the significance I give this story. It's significant because a sufficient portion of MAGA find it to be significant. And and I'm telling you that the reason they feel that way is because he made all these promises about cleaning up government and no longer being beholden to the elites. And then it looked as if he did a complete 180 on that. And that's not a good look. So yeah, he's feeling it. MAGA needs to vote at the grassroots level. Top down is not how to change. Bottom up takes more time. MAGA is like an impatient child, no matter the age. Vote at the midterms and local elections. Trump is not a messiah. 100% agree with this. 100% agree with this. It's more work. It's much more work. History is made by those who refuse to look away. I know the money week one. Just damn it. Just say good game. Good game, Q Revere. Very good game. Over 20,000 kids laid out of school today because Border Patrol is in Charlotte. 15% of students are the largest school system in the state are illegals. This is in Charlotte. Unbelievable. There was a commercial during Monday Night Football, released the Epstein files. I don't think that happens if he didn't drop the ball with messaging. I think he played them like a fiddle. Okay, that's 3. Your goal. Fair enough. Oh, guys. MAGA's Mangina always gets itchy and dry because Trump isn't doing enough. Buy a tube of Mengasil. Stop acting like no balls wall sissies. Vote at the effing midterms and local elections. Dumbassery MAGA. Tough guys. Tariff power may be taken by SCOTUS. It will be. I really think it will be. I think tariff power is going to be sucked up by, I think they're going to, I totally think they will. Power is going to be. Let me catch up on some of the rants. Suzelle said, I would like to thank Zoran in hurting New York by getting Staten Island to want to leave New York City. Well, to be fair, seriously, to be fair. No, seriously, to be fair. I know, because when I was a kid, long before I was married, so maybe I wasn't a kid, maybe I was a teen. So you're talking in the 80s, Staten Island wanted to leave New York. They've always wanted to leave New York. Forever they've wanted to leave New York. I remember because my father said to me, I really hope they do it, because if they do, maybe Queens is next. And we were living in Queens. He still lives in Queens. Joe, I would argue he doesn't care about it and he hasn't put it out because the actual average person doesn't care about it. The Twitter world is really the only ones who does. That's possibly true. Possibly true, but and it's possibly true. Fun fact, Epstein visited the White House 17 times during the Clinton presidency. That's from Hands One Back. So, of course he did. Of course he did. Zion says, funny how no one's covering news that came out yet, that came out recently, and that was the New York Post. What he's sharing here is there's this right here. House Democrat exchanged texts with Epstein on how to hurt Trump during 2019 congressional hearings. Of course. Of course. Anyway. Which came out on Saturday. Jeffrey Epstein was feeding questions to Representative Stacey Plaskett during a 2019 congressional hearing, giving her real-time help on how to damage President Trump's reputation, newly released documents show. First text The text, first reported by the Washington Post, showed the convicted pedo pontificating with Plaskett during a February 27, 2019 House Oversight Committee hearing in which the then former president's ex-attorney, Mike Cohen, testified about Trump's alleged payments to mistresses to silence stories before the 2016 election. Trump has vehemently denied all allegations. Here's Plaskett. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of secrets. Epstein texted misspelling Graf's first name. Rona, responded Plaskett, a non-voting delegate representing the U.S. Virgin Islands. Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym? She added, suggesting she'd grill Cohen soon. That's his assistant. Wow. Wow. I didn't even hear about this. Thank you. Text message also showed Epstein influenced what questions Cohen asked. He's opened the door to questions regarding who are the other henchmen at Trump org. Epstein texted Plaskett at 12:25. Yep, very aware and waiting my turn. Plaskett began questioning Cohen at 2:28 p.m. and asked about Graf as well as his other Trump associates Epstein had mentioned, according to the Washington Post. Are there other people that we should be meeting with, Plaskett asked. So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer in the Trump organization, Cohen began to reply. You got to quickly give us as many names as you can so we can get to them, Plaskett responded. Is Miss Rona? What's Miss Rona's? Rona Graf. That's Miss... Oh, that's good. Oh, my God. I don't know her name. Is Miss Trump's executive assistant. She was his office directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot of that went on, Cohen said. At 2:34 p.m., Epstein told Plaskett, good work, a minute after she finished her questioning. Wow. Wow. They're so sick. They're so sick. Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm going to star this story. I want to come back to this story later. Oh, actually, one more thing here on this. The documents redacted Plaskett's name, but the newspaper analyzed the messages and compared them to hearing footage to report Plaskett was indeed texting Epstein. At the time, Epstein was already convicted on state prostitution charges, and months later, he'd be charged with sex trafficking minors. This was a decade, 12 years after the whole. He pleaded guilty when he was charged with harming hundreds of minors. Epstein owned 2 private islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands, Great St. James and Little St. James, which the feds have called the nexus of his sex trafficking operations. Wait, isn't she from? Where's she from? Which state is she from? I just want to check real fast where she's from. She is from the Virgin Islands. Oh, she knows Epstein well. She knew him well. That's what I thought it would say. That's what I thought I read earlier. Plaskett initially declined comment after the newspaper published a story Friday night. Her office issued a statement confirming that she had contact during the hearing with a former campaign donor. During the hearing, Congresswoman Plaskett received texts from staff, constituents at the public large office offering advice, support, in some cases partisan vitriol, including from Epstein. Including from Epstein. He's literally texting her as she's about to question him. As a former prosecutor, she welcomes information that helps get the truth to look on the GOP that was trying to bury the truth. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Taking the words of a pedo. Great. A known pedo. So sickening. I agree, Joe. He knew he was innocent, should release everything from the start. On a line note, place a $50 bet on a 7-game parlay that hit and won $395. Nice. Well done. Per Rich, Trump wouldn't sacrifice his approval rating for 4D chess. 40%. Rich got through to him with his base upset info. Trump changed course. I do think that he might have spoken to Trump. I do think he might have spoken to him. He intimated as much. I didn't ask him off camera anything about that. On stream, he was talking about. He admitted when someone asked him about it that Trump had reached out to him. So it seemed like it was an ongoing thing. He needs to fix this, or his last 2 years he'll be impeached just like last term. He's still going to be impeached. That's not going to, unless we keep the House, he's going to be impeached. By the way, at the grassroots level, colonial Islam is taking local government and state government offices. Wake up, Mangina's hint. Mikey Obama has a Mangina watch. The manga is still sold at local drugstore and pharmacies. Yes, the Plaskett Epstein conspiracy. She worked under Comey and said that Trump should be eliminated. Check your messages. I really don't want to get off onto Plaskett very much longer because I really want to get into MTG, and I have a lot of clips I need to get through. Like, I didn't even start.
And has
This show barely started. I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna show you something. These are all the clips I need to get through. So I'm feeling pressure. I'm feeling a lot of pressure. All right. Next, I really want to focus on the fight between Trump and MTG, and much of it relates to her position about that Trump needs to release the Epstein files. But this was where things started reaching a head. So we're going to start here. Trump truthed out. I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Traitor Greene of the great state of Georgia over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total and complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world as opposed to being the laughingstock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars invest in USA, having created the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more. All I see wacky Marjorie do is complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance, unless, of course, she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. She has told many people that she is upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore, but with 219 congresswomen men, 53 U.S. senators, 24 cabinet members, almost 200 countries, and an otherwise normal life to lead, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they're too fed up with her and the antics, and if the right person runs, they will have my complete and unyielding support. She has gone far left, even doing The View with their low IQ Republican-hating anchors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So pretty scathing, considering that, she was one of his biggest supporters. Like when she showed up to the State of the Union in 2021 with a mask that said Trump won. She's been a diehard Trump supporter forever, and he's throwing her under the bus in ways that, well, in politics, only Trump would ever do. That's steamrolling MTG right there. That is steamrolling her. So, and folks like Cat Turd, who's one of the biggest MAGA social media accounts there is. This is Cat Turd. Actually, this is Cat Turd Slim. Okay. My apologies. Never mind. I'm not even gonna share this. My I was wondering when I saw this. Stuff ends up in my feed. I'm not even sharing that. To hell with that. But I will tell you that, because that seemed like some stupid liberal when I saw the name. Alex Jones warning that President Trump's aggressive attacks against NTG and other original MAGA supporters has triggered a civil war within the movement that threatens to destabilize 47's agenda to save the republic. We'll give him a couple minutes here.
But they believe it'll crash the stock market. This comes out. Well, they did it anyways. And I predicted 6 months ago and 5 months ago and 4 months ago and 3 months ago and a month ago. And I said, when they screw you, Trump, when you help them cover it up, and then they turn around and blame you with innuendo, you better then turn the DOJ loose, except the DOJ won't follow his orders. And that's why he went ahead and went past. Plus, the Democrats had the files forever. As he said, they took out all the stuff. Then you come out and you tell people in in-depth fireside chats as much as they need to hear it. Because I already know, dude. God, if Trump listened to me, but instead he listens to Susie Wiles and these other people that are there to set him up and embarrass him and get all their money and power and then destroy the MAGA movement while they act like loyalists and cue the whole thing up to make sure the Democrats win in 3 years. That's what all of this is. And
I just want to read to you what MTG put out there. President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him all night, but I did send those text messages today. Apparently this is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files. It's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out, that he actually goes to this level. But most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes, are going broke trying to feed their families and are losing hope. And yeah, basically, she's coming hard after him as well.
And get all their money and power and then destroy the MAGA movement while they act like loyalists and cue the whole thing up to make sure the Democrats win in 3 years. That's what all of this is, and we all know it.
And I do think that this is damaging. I think this is damaging. I'm not saying it's irreparable. It definitely is reparable, but it needs to be repaired. And this may help. And I got a lot more on MTG, don't worry. I got a lot more on her. But this may help. I know there's no sound.
Was it Jeffrey Epstein?
There was no sound. There was no sound in the beginning of the video for me either.
Made his emails when he said you knew about the girls.
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago. It's really, what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton, with the president of Harvard, who you know who that is, Summers, Larry Summers, whatever his name is, and all of the other people that he spent time with. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years. But he also saw a strike because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. I don't care about it, released or not. What I think you should do, if you're going to do it, then you have to go into Epstein's friends. This Reid Hoffman spent a lot of time on the island. I was never on his island. Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. You're going to have to look into his friends.
To be clear, I think he's mistaken about that. Supposedly, Clinton was on 28 flights. I don't think he went there. He went to Epstein Island 28 times. I remember from the flight logs, I did see his name on there a lot, Bill Clinton's name, when I was covering the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And we saw the flight logs, and you can pull up the flight logs if you spend 5 minutes searching the internet. But, and you'll see how often Bill Clinton was on there. but I do think people say the number is like 28 times, but not all of them were to Epstein Island. So he's probably confused. He's probably confused about that.
If they're going to do that, then I think the perfect guy to do it would be Southern District, somebody like Jay Clayton. I understand that's who's been assigned.
Was there more?
I know nothing about her.
Want to release the files? All the files.
Well, they can have whatever they want. They already do. I think they have 50,000 pages already. Look, this is a Democrat hoax. This is a hoax put out by the Democrat, and a few Republicans have gone along with it because they're weak and ineffective. But this is a Democrat hoax to get away from the fact that they just lost the shutdown and they've lost the elections. They've lost the big election, to me, in a record number. They lost the popular vote. They lost the swing states. They lost everything.
So there you go. That's him basically saying, go ahead, release the files. Have fun, have at it, which is what he should have been saying a long time ago. What he should have been saying a long time ago. Now, leftists who pretend to be on the right, one of them includes, I think Miles Taylor pretends to be on the right, are losing their crap with Trump because he's Trump. So check this guy out.
Miles, just because you have a really unique perspective on the idea of being investigated, being a target of Donald Trump's. Now, if you like fold in the Eric Swalwell element of this,
yeah,
you've got now the president says he wants the Eric
This
Swalwell
is
to be investigated by
Miles
the
Taylor.
Justice Department, and as you see from what he wants to have, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, all these others. What is it? What on a human level is it like when the president's attention with your name it goes public like that?
Yeah, it's completely bonkers. It destroys your life. It destroys your life. And people can disagree with me about my criticisms of Trump. Yeah, I served in his administration. Right. I criticized him from in that administration. I left that administration. But he accused me of treason, a crime punishable by death.
There's a difference between saying treason colloquially and being charged with treason. And this guy knows it, but he's about to use a bad faith argument here to try and make some sort of stupid empty point, which I guess is perfect for your typical CNN viewer.
A guilty person of a crime tantamount to murder. Why am I sitting at this table with you guys?
Because he was talking colloquially.
Why am I not in handcuffs and in jail?
Because you're being an idiot.
Because there's no evidence that I'm guilty of treason. But the president of the United States making that claim about private American citizens is pretty scary. And what I would say to my friends that are fellow conservatives is that when a Democrat's in power, do we want a Democrat doing this? Tweeting.
That's what we've had, idiot.
Investigations into existence.
Oh, that's what you mean? Yeah, but who cares? I'd rather be upfront about it. At least he's upfront about it. Biden, or I should say the people who are running the government when Joe Biden was our official president, they were doing far worse, and they were doing it under cloak and dagger. So, yeah, you're an idiot.
People of crimes punishable by death. Guys, this isn't cool. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. So anyone defending the president of the United States, I don't care if there's a D or R by his name, unilaterally tweeting investigations into private American citizens, we should all be condemning that. Okay.
No, I don't have a problem with that at all. I have zero problem with that at all. Who cares? Who cares? It's his DOJ. So he's telling you publicly, there you go, that this guy needs to be looked at.
Okay. And it does wreck people's lives financially. Threats, not just against me. You can hate me, but why do you hate my wife? Why do you make threats against my 1-year-old daughter?
I don't think that those threats should be made. I think those threats are wrong. No one should be going after your wife or child just because, even if you're slime, doesn't mean people should be going after your wife or daughter. So that I agree with. But you guys just voted in Jay Jones, who's basically as Attorney General, who he himself was sending out vile things about what should be done to family members and children of MAGA. So no sympathy here.
That's not okay. This president is fanning the flames of that. He's abusing the justice system. I don't care if you say the last administration did or didn't. I'm not in a debate about
No, he's not abusing it. It's his Justice Department. He's not abusing that at all.
weaponization. We could fix it now by stopping letting this happen. And Eric Swalwell this week, the people the president just said were going to be investigated, are casualties in this lawlessness.
It's not lawlessness. There's nothing lawless. He's expressing his opinion that they should be investigated. And perhaps they will be. If there's probable cause, they'll be investigated. So go cry in your latte. No one's weeping for you. He's sitting there. He's put out there in his tweet. In his tweet, he wrote, "If that's okay with you, then I hope you like a Constitution extra crispy." Dude, you know nothing about the Constitution. Nothing. It's his DOJ. He can do what he wants with his DOJ. So, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's embarrassing that he's associated with any Trump administration. So, why Marjorie Taylor Greene? Let's focus on her. What has she been doing that has earned his ire the way it has? There was a painting of Bill in a blue dress hanging in the foyer of his New York home. Can't say I own you any clearer. Yep. It was sickening. Mangasil is male vagisil. Oh, I knew what you were saying. I knew what you were saying, bro. Stop the itching and burning for the wussy. Why would Trump be concerned with any prosecutorial and investigative BS? Human level, dumbass Taylor. Get him some Mangasil. Because he knows that it's fracturing his support. And he really does want to have a legacy. He cares about his legacy a lot. That's his primary motivating factor. I do not think that Trump, while I can praise him and the work he's done as president, I do not think he has conservative values. I think he wants to have a healthy legacy. So to the extent it's affecting his legacy, I think he's always going to care about it. That's the shortcoming in Trump, who, as great a president as he is, has shortcomings. Some sizable, very noticeable ones, which unfortunately can be frustrating. Joe, Mangina is pronounced like it starts with a V. I know what Magicils. Great play on words, bigly funny. Also, Trump needs a good PR fixer. He does. I think he might be going Rich Barris for that. Not that Rich told me anything of the kind. I sent you a DM, a really interesting interview from the Tom Woods Show. Check it out. Would love your opinion on it. Is it related to this? Is it on point? I think I saw that. I think I actually looked at it. Yes. Yeah, that was, you sent me a thing about some Orthodox Jews' anti-Zionist perspective. That's what it was. And I started watching it. And I'm familiar with, I'm not familiar with that particular gentleman. I'm familiar with the position. And there's probably a lot of truth in what he says. I think many of his conclusions are flawed. But I don't have time for that now. I appreciate you sharing with me, brother. Thank you.
Some change. I promise.
Oh, sorry. I was checking to see where we're at on the goal, and we're at 14 out of 15. Good job. Okay, let's get into Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's get into it. This was Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she went on to The View. Yes, you heard me right. Marjorie Taylor Greene, in case you missed it, was on The View.
and I'll do anything I can to work hard.
It's just clips of her. We're not going to watch the whole episode of View. Don't worry.
Maybe you should become a Democrat, Marjorie.
That should be a moment that's humiliating for her. That saggy bag of wind. She said enough things during the course of her meeting there that the saggy bag of wind known as Joy Behar thought that she sounded like a Democrat.
A Democrat. You want to know something? I'll say this. I think both parties have failed.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene stunned the women of The View during an interview in which the firebrand Republican broke repeatedly with President Trump and charmed the hosts by showing off her softer side. Here are the top 3 most stunning moments from her appearance. Number 3, ripping weak Republican men.
But when I talk about weak Republican men, I'm pretty much talking oftentimes about the leadership in the House and the Senate, and they're not getting our agenda done. And I've got so many bills. I have a bill you guys in New York would love. It would end capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home. So if you've owned a house for a long time,
we used to have that.
well, we need it back.
Yeah.
But I can't even get it to the floor for a vote without Mike Johnson approving it to come to the floor.
MTG didn't hold back from calling out the Republican leadership during her appearance and slammed House Speaker Mike Johnson specifically for what she deemed a failure on health care.
Practically, I yelled at Mike Johnson last week on our GOP conference call. By the way, I'm missing the call today. It's going on right now. And I hope that Mike Johnson is finally giving a single health care policy because the country deserves it.
So far right, she's actually left. The Georgia rep left Sunny Hostin so shocked by her declarations that the host questioned whether she was in fact actually a Republican.
I've got to tell you, I'm sitting here just...
And she bills herself as being ultra MAGA and desperately trying to ingratiate herself with these chowderheads.
stumped. Because you are a very different person than I thought you were. I feel like I'm sitting next to a completely different Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why the change? Why the evolution?
Well, Sunny,
it's like you've gone so right. It's like you're on the left now.
And finally, a smiling MTG called on the hosts and women across America to put aside their differences for a common cause.
I believe that people with powerful voices like myself and like you, and especially women to women, we need to pave a new path. This country.
What the heck does that mean, women to women to women? What the hell does that even mean? That is your typical leftist crap talking point. I don't even know what that means, women to women. So ignore your sons? Like, this is the stupidest thing in the world. There's a typical leftist would think that this is a thing. Like, oh yeah, the men should all band together against the women, as if that's feeding into the idiot nonsense patriarchy harpies. This is so aggravating. This is not an impressive showing by Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is her looking like an ultimate cuck, and she's held herself out as Mrs. MAGA, and this is just humiliating. I'm sorry. You can agree or disagree with Marjorie Taylor Greene and her stance with respect to Epstein on this whole thing here. This is a walk of shame. This is something that should be humiliating for her. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for this woman. Yay, woman power. Like that's like a healthy thing. That's promoting family values. Like, what about that is a positive type of thing? Whenever people are playing into the intersectionality, just be very, very suspect of it.
Our beautiful country, our red, white, and blue flag is just being ripped to shreds. And I think it takes women of maturity to sew it back together. And I think that happens.
I understand she's in front of the clapping seals, the barking seals of The View. But still, I'm sorry. This is not a thought that ever should go through an actual conservative's head. So to hell with their sons. Let's just focus on the women. What does that even mean?
During the appearance, the politician also called for the release of files from the investigation of pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, a priority of congressional Democrats opposed by Trump, who has called interest in the case a witch hunt. It seems like very rich and powerful men are being protected, she charged, and I will sign anybody's resolution, and I'll get on board with anyone's wish to release those files, because this is about women, especially when they were teenagers, were victims of rape and sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein. And according to the victims, there's a list of men that they haven't released yet.
Which that too is, by the way, a pretty stupid statement. Has any of them said, I've seen a list of men? Look, I'm all for releasing the files, but anyone who thinks that there's a list is probably fooling themselves. I'd be surprised if any such list exists. And if such a list did exist, I guess people are thinking it'd be a blackmail list that Epstein had created. If there was such a list, 0 victims would know about it. None of them. You think he's going around telling them, oh yeah, I got a list of people I'm blackmailing? It's all written down. It's in the safe, together with $500 million. Combination to that safe is 3214. Like, you think that's what he's doing? That's what, while he's in the middle of like assaulting and destroying these, shattering these women, he's in the middle of like basically sharing what he's actually got going on. Like, what do these victims know? But she's sitting there quoting like these victims say that there's a list. I mean, how stupid a notion is that? That's just not logical. Good evening, Joe. Good to see you. Not get distracted the show by just finished latest Sean Ryan show with CK's head of security. Highly recommend. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll try to check it out. Let's just finish it off. Love you, brother. You too. Good to see you, Grifty. MTG has always been a fake. This is not a surprise. Yep. I think she wants to scissor Joe. Woman to woman? I don't even know what that means. Oh, scissoring? I don't know. I don't know. All right. So that's her on The View. There's a few other moments from The View that I'll share with y'all.
Releasing the Jeffrey Epstein
We've been outspoken about releasing
files to the public, including the names of individuals involved in his sex trafficking network. Now, Democrats have been calling for that too, along with some of the other Republicans, but most of your party is pushing back and stalling. Why do you think that is? Because if President Trump is not implicated in there, what is exactly being protected here?
I have no idea, but it seems like very rich and powerful men are being protected. And I will sign anybody's resolution, and I'll get on board with anyone's push to release those files, because this is about women, especially when they were teenagers, were victims of rape and sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein. And according to the victims, there's a list of men that they haven't released yet. They are afraid of lawsuits. They're afraid of it. And I said I would read the list for them on the House floor, because
I'm sorry, this is such a dumb take.
I have speech and debate protection there. However, I also think that this is about all victims of human trafficking, children that are being molested or raped, any men and women that are held in some sort of sexual abuse situation. What does our government say to them if the government will not release the information on the most famous convicted pedophile in history? What is that message back? And I think it's horrendous. And then you know what else?
And that part I agree with. I do think that it does send a bad message to women who are afraid of speaking out, and that's terrible. That's the one thing I've heard her say on The View that I actually agree with. I think these files need to be released.
It's been a failure across administrations. It's not just this one. It was the Biden administration, then the Trump administration, then the Obama administration. It should have, all across, spanning this history, should have been released. And there's clearly powerful people are being
The
protected.
only one who really got caught is a woman on this, is Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right. And what does that say?
The irony of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they say she's a monster though.
Yeah, she's a monster. Yeah, she is.
They hate her.
Comes in all
They
genders.
hate
I
her.
guess.
Yeah.
You've been out.
Okay. So that's one clip of hers from there. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm actually. I think we've got enough of a flavor from her appearance on The View. So I'm going to skip. I have a couple more other clips from her from The View. But we're going to skip those because time is a wasting.
Spoken about.
So I'm going to skip past the other stuff. This is her talking to Megyn Kelly about her appearance on The View.
All right, so The View. Why on earth would you go into that snake pit?
They invited me. Seriously. So this is interesting. There's a group of hardcore America First people like me that are blacklisted on Fox News. They fired Tucker Carlson, and pretty much ever since that, Tucker used to have me on when he was on Fox News.
Yep.
And ever since then, I'm pretty much blacklisted. They'll talk about me on Fox News. They'll show videos of me and things that I said, but they never have me on. So I've done mostly conservative podcasts and so forth. Did your show, which is amazing.
It's
I do
great.
Tucker's show, Steve Bannon, different shows like that. But they actually invited, and I thought to myself, you know what? I definitely would like to talk to them and talk to their audience. And so I decided that our country is so toxic, politically toxic, and it really bothers me because ever since Charlie was assassinated, I'm concerned of where that's going, especially for our kids' generation and on. And I'm a Christian, and I pray the Lord's Prayer every day. And here lately, I've been thinking a lot about Charlie Kirk and what Erica said. She forgave the man that killed her husband, which is
Superhuman.
unbelievable. But I've been thinking a lot about how we say, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And we can say those words, but if we're not willing to live them in action, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do. So I've kind of changed my outlook. Thank you. And so I went on and I decided I would like to have a nice conversation with these women, share my views with them and their audience, and try to put those words into action.
I mean, I guess I don't mind her going on there. I just don't agree with what she was saying there. What she was saying there was the problem.
Okay, here's my question for you though, because it's no accident they invited you on now, because you've been saying some things critical of Speaker Johnson, had some criticism of Trump, critical on the Epstein files, as we saw there. And it did remind me a little bit of what Roger Ailes once told me. He said, when the left-wing blogs start praising you, that's when you have to worry.
Yeah.
So.
Good question. Very good question from Megyn. Excellent question.
Do your constituents need to worry that you're moderating over to the left side?
No, that's impossible, everybody. No, here's where I'm at. I'm so America first. I'm America only.
All right. So
yeah. Yeah, you say you're America first, but calling for rallying women specifically as a group is kind of a strange take. Kind of a strange take.
Completely.
Here's another thing that she's been saying recently.
I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate.
What the hell are you talking about?
Control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. I absolutely support the president. I campaigned for him for years. But I'm also an action person, and I want my party to solve problems.
And you say he's not getting good advice, though. You told Manu Raju. What specifically?
Well, I don't think it's good advice that a government shutdown is going to help Republicans in the midterms. I don't agree with that. I also don't think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms. I actually think that would be very bad for midterms. I see the shutdown completely different.
So, yeah, throwing the blame on the Republicans for the shutdown is kind of ridiculous. And it sounds as if she's trying to court the Democrats. It sounds like that. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like Liz Cheney's new best friend. That's what it sounds like to me. Can this woman not get a decent cut in color? She bugs the ever-living crap out of me. I don't know. I don't know. Only her hairstylist knows for sure. Moha MMED is the most famous peep stew. Okay. All right. Okay. So I want to share with you here. I should have deleted some of these links so this way I would stop going through them. So Trump has been blasting MTG, not just in that tweet, but in general. Ooh, that was loud. I'm sorry.
President Donald Trump took a shot at Congresswoman Marjorie Traitor Greene during a press conference yesterday.
Earlier in the day, Greene had lamented the fact that former al-Qaeda leader turned Syrian president Ahmed al-Sharaa was meeting with Trump. She wrote in part, quote, "I would really like to see non-stop meetings at the White House on domestic policy, not foreign policy, and foreign countries' leaders. Start by hauling in the health insurance companies' executives, and let's start formulating our Republican plan to save America from Obamacare and ACA tax credits that have skyrocketed the cost of health insurance." CNN's Caitlin Collins asked Trump about this and added that Greene has also spoken out about rising prices. Here is the president's response.
I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad...
And frankly, that is what the Constitution directs him to do. You know, he's supposed to be our point man with the world.
President. When somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know.
Collins said on X that Greene responded to Trump in a statement to CNN saying, quote, "I haven't lost my way. I'm 100% America first and only." Well, I've defended and agreed with a lot of what Marjorie Taylor Greene has had to say lately. On this one, I would back Trump. I mean, the administration can do multiple things at once, right. And it is important for the president to engage with world leaders. And this world leader, al-Sharaa, I know there are actually some people who are not in the Marjorie Greene camp, like Laura Loomer, for instance, who's furious that Trump would meet with this former al-Qaeda person. I'm for engagement. He's the president of Syria now, and he wants Western engagement. He wants to play nice with the U.S. He wants to get along with us. That's a good thing. That's what we always want in the Middle East when a new regime comes in. We want them to seek to be our friends. I'm for giving him a chance. He seems very sincerely. He's sick of fighting. Let's try to move forward.
True.
That's great. I'm not saying it's all going to be perfect and we should remain vigilant, but he is the president now and he wants Western engagement, and that's a good thing. He got asked about, he's been done the media tour, and he got asked about 9/11. He was like, well, I was like a teenager then. He joined Al-Qaeda after when his country was invaded, and he's very I think what he said is impressive. It just laser focused on it's terrible, everyone who got killed on both sides, and let's have peace. That's all Trump's interested in. So I'm good with that. That's fine by me.
Yeah, look, it's been a wild journey for Mr. Al-Shura. There's no question about that. But on the other hand, how many people could we point to through history who have made that journey from so-called terrorist to so-called statesman or leader? Like, that is quite a frequently trodden path, for good or for bad. Now,
as Tywin Lannister says in Game of Thrones, when your enemies lay down their swords and submit, you treat them well, or else no one will ever submit.
Well, that seems...
They'll fight to the death. That was the stupidest thing we ever did with Gaddafi.
Right.
Gaddafi chose more pro-Western engagement, moved in our direction, and we allowed him to be toppled anyway.
Right, and gave up his nuclear ambitions, and then there was open season.
Yeah.
In relation to Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, firstly, I agree with you. I mean, a president doesn't have to spend 100% of his time on domestic policy, nor is it a forsaking of the importance of domestic policy to meet a foreign leader. I do find Greene's evolution very interesting. Like, she's now this person who talks about affordability quite a lot. Exactly what she...
So what do you guys think is the cause of her change? Do you think it's Epstein? Do you think it's the shutdown? Do you think it's Charlie Kirk? Or do you think she's looking to gain broader acceptance because she has higher aspirations than remaining a member of the House? And she has higher political aspirations. I'm very curious about what your take is. I'll weigh in with my take at some point. But she says it's Charlie Kirk, and Epstein. But my question is whether you think that that's the truth, or whether that's, what happened to her. Or Trump claims that she's mad because he basically told her, you're never going to be a senator. So give it up. Didn't this whole thing of a client list come from the Maxwell case? It was the first time this was said. Was the list explained in the case? No, it wasn't. They did nothing to explain the list. They did nothing to explain. Their objective throughout that entire trial was to pretend that there were 4 victims. That's it. There were 4 victims who were abused by Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine enabled it. There was nothing about, maybe people were talking about the list. Maybe people started talking about a list, but none of the women who testified mentioned anything about a list. And the entire focus was pretending that there were basically 4 victims, or maybe more, but focusing exclusively on that this was his own personal, as if, you remember how like, when we talked about freak-offs, right? But with the Diddy thing, with the Diddy trial. So we all thought of the term freak-off with respect to Diddy meaning basically like these wild parties with, these wild sex parties with like hordes of people, a Diddy party turning into like a freak-off. And then during the course of the trial, they only used that term to refer to him playing a voyeur. So there's like a very directed perspective of things that the state will do when they're presenting a case that's designed to try and convince a jury to convict. And they will frame things in ways that are designed to comport with the charges that they're seeking conviction for. So in the Diddy trial, it was specifically, how he victimized those 2 women, not about other powerful people who may have participated in his sickening, hedonistic lifestyle. And in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, it was purely about the wrongs committed by Jeffrey Epstein himself, with as little talk as possible as much shielding as possible of anyone else who was involved. I figured out what's bugging me about this. It rings of high school girl gossip fights. STFU already. Fair enough. Fair enough. But the reason that this could have relevance, and I don't think you're talking to me, but I think you're talking to Marjorie Traitor Greene, and perhaps this is part of the reason of your frustration, is this is not the time you want to see fracturing within MAGA, and it does seem as if it's causing a fracturing. Right? It does seem as if it's causing, like, we have so many different ways that we're being fractured, and this is not unusual. We saw fracturing in the Democratic Party when they had power. Once you have power, what you do with that power ultimately will become a dividing point where people think that the focus should be A, and other people think, no, A is like number 12 on the list. And that's not surprising. And the direction that you take to, even in those, when you agreed about A, the direction that's the healthiest direction for approaching A is something that people might argue about vehemently. So we saw that, we saw how that came up with respect to foreign policy, specifically with respect to Israel, Iran, and Gaza. We saw it with respect, we see it with respect to Epstein. But this should not be surprising to anyone. The question is how well MAGA can hold together through all this turmoil, and what steps Trump can take to perhaps keep MAGA together, keep MAGA from splintering over issues that, relative to the entire health of America, are insignificant. I mean, most people would say insignificant. Most people, I think, who look at MAGA look at, like, the repairing our domestic issues. So that's what I think. And domestic issues that are affecting our lives on a day-by-day basis. Now, our lives could be on a day-by-day basis, can refer to the economy. It could refer to the education system that we have. It could refer to the housing crisis. It could refer to a lot of different areas. It could refer to DEI, even. But these are the splintering should not be a surprise to you. My low for Trump this week was his truth post about Massey getting remarried. It was so far out of line, disrespectful for a man on his third wife. I didn't actually see that post. I did not see that post. Now I'm thinking I need to check it out. Now you make me feel like I need to look at it. Should I pull it up? I have a feeling it's going to depress me. If someone shares it with me, I can't spend like 5 minutes. I'm starting to scroll. What I find is I'm starting to like scroll through and try and find his posts. So if someone shares it with me, maybe I'll try to pull that up. I really almost don't want to. I don't want to. MTG at least understands you have to take care of domestic policy first, then foreign policy. Trump has lost that sight. Trump has put Americans second. Maybe. I do think that there should be someone in charge of creating a new healthcare thing to replace Obamacare. I think that would be a good thing. He has, he's delegated out a lot, which is what the president's supposed to be doing. He's delegated out to Tulsi, exposing the corruption from the previous administrations. He's designated out most of the health issues to RFK. So in that sense, he's gotten better people in there than he certainly had in his first administration. His first administration was just a disaster of people that he had in there. So on a day-by-day basis, you know, what I would agree with is that Trump has a unique capacity for rallying people together. So while I am mindful that his constitutional duties lie first and foremost with his role on the international stage to try and better America in that respect and enrich America in that respect and make us stronger in that respect, I do recognize that he has a unique capacity to bring folks together on issues. And in that sense, perhaps he could be a more fortifying force in American domestic policy. But most of the domestic policies, first and foremost, they're set primarily by, he's taken a lot of steps there. I mean, he shut down the border. And, you know, he sicked Tom Homan on the illegals. So in that sense, you know, he has done a lot there. But I kind of, the more I think about it, the more I wish that the filibuster had been busted during the shutdown. That would have been ideal. I guess Kathy missed the part where Massey implied that Trump was a pedo, and then Trump made that post. I was referring to Kathy talking about Massey. Yeah, a lot of people have been taking swipes at him too. Trump's coalition is fracturing due to his loss of focus. He's focused on world peace, which is fine, but he's ignoring domestic issues. So what do you think he should be doing? You think that you agree with Marjorie Traitor Greene, Allegan, that he should be calling people in together and say, let's sit down and bang heads and work out a health plan which is better, which is superior to Obamacare? I see Kathy saying she sent me a screenshot of what he said. Did Thomas Massey, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr. because of the fact that he always votes against the Republican Party, get married already? Boy, that was quick. No wonder the polls have a less than 8% chance of winning the election anyway. Have a great life, Thomas. And his wife will soon find out that she's stuck with a loser. That is kind of harsh. Yeah, that's very personal. That's getting very personal. But yeah, it's petty, and it's ugly. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Here's more on MTG.
There, and somewhere inside that Capitol is our next guest, making her way up the stairs as we speak. She's one of only 4 Republican lawmakers who helped force a vote to release all of the files in the investigation of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the House is expected to vote next week on a bill to release the files after a bipartisan petition to force the vote finally got enough signatures. And all of it comes after a new batch of Epstein's private emails were released, a batch that mentions President Trump multiple times. Some GOP leaders and the president.
It mentions him. Who cares? It basically says he hates him. Ooh, like there's nothing bad in those mentions. Like nothing bad. So the most sickening man of the 21st century, second most after Obama, the second most sickening man in the 21st century basically says he hates Trump, and that's bad. Says that Trump's evil. That's bad.
President oppose the release of these documents, and the president denies any wrongdoing, hasn't been accused of wrongdoing. Only on CBS Mornings, we are joined now by Congresswoman Marjorie Traitor Greene. Congresswoman, good morning. I want to begin.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning to you. I want to begin with the release of the Epstein files, the vote to release those files. You are on the side of releasing them, and you're on that side despite President Trump saying that only a very bad or stupid Republican would be standing where you are. Why is this so important to you?
It's for the victims. These women have been waiting, some of them for decades.
Here's the thing also. That you know, if you have half a brain, why it is that the left is making this push. You know why they're doing it. So I have questions about siding with the side of evil, which they are. You've called them the side of evil over and over again.
I talked to several victims that were raped by Jeffrey Epstein back in the 90s. And so this is information that has needed to come out for a very long time. And the American people have demanded it. And so the American people deserve to see transparency from their government. Rich, powerful people should not be protected. That is completely wrong. And it's a message to victims everywhere, victims of rape, human trafficking, and children who are trapped in terrible situations, that the government will not protect the predators, that we will work hard to protect the victims.
So she's either telling the truth as to what her motivation is, which she may be. She may be. She's one of the few who I think have been screaming about the Epstein files for a very long time. So she may be telling the truth about that. Or there's another agenda here. So if we assume for a moment that she's lying as to what her motivation is, and I'm not saying that she is, but if we assume for a moment that she is lying about what her agenda is, I would figure that's probably about power. That her objective here is to try and ingratiate herself with the left, to sort of be viewed as a more moderate Republican, while trying not to slough off her America First roots. But that I do think that she has greater aspirations. It's very possible she has greater aspirations than sitting in the House. And that governor, she's hoping that perhaps governor or senator is in the offing. I don't think she's ever going to get there. It does feel like Liz Cheney. Like, I'm going to try and cross over and bridge these two so I can try and figure out how I can gain greater power. Because to me, that's the only reason you go on The View. Even if you believe it and say that some of the wacky, stupid things that she said on The View. Even if she is telling the truth here, let's assume for a moment that she actually cares about the Epstein victims. And I think she has a stronger right to make that, to assert that that's a genuine position of hers, given the fact that she's probably look up and find her screaming about that for years. Just going on The View, screaming about women power, screaming about how Mike Johnson it's the fault of the Republicans for the whole shutdown. This was stupid. This was a stupid Liz Cheney type of move of I'm going to find popularity with the left. And she can call herself America First all she wants. When you're aligning with the left, that's America last. That's America dead last. So that's my take on it. I think it's America dead last. I don't think she's America dead last, but I think that she's aligning with that. You have to know what you're getting in bed with. She's been doing this a long time, a long enough time at least. What, 6 years now or so? She's been doing this a long enough time to know what she was doing when she went on The View. And I think that she's afraid of sloughing off her. I think that she might feel that she's enough of a name value, kind of like, the right's version of AOC, that she can get away with it, that she's not going to lose her support. If she just says, I'm still America First, I'm America only, that she's not going to lose it. I don't know. Maybe that's what her polling tells her. That would be a unique thing for a politician to accomplish. What's not a unique thing for a politician to accomplish is this. There's no other word for it. He's become such a jackass.
Senator, on that note, just I guess a question that's out there: why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Why were the Epstein files not released during the last 4 years when Biden was in power? The obvious question. Where were you guys then? What is this clown gonna say to that? Why wasn't it released? What's he gonna say? Oh, he's gonna pretend that he's too addled and old to actually understand the question and completely say something completely irrelevant.
That's the question every American is asking. Or not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released?
Senator, on that.
What? Did you get a brain transplant from Joe Biden? What the hell is that? No, we were asked about the last 4 years. You're asked about the last 4 years. Oh my God. What's he hiding? What are you hiding, jackass? So embarrassing. So embarrassing. And this was the post from Trump. I told you earlier that Trump basically has cut the legs off from this. Wisely so. Not simply what he said on Air Force One, but as our press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, shared out. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files. Huzzah! Huzzah! Thank you. Thank you. Because we have nothing to hide. It's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning bigly, our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars in investment into America, a record, the rebuilding of our military, securing our border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's sports, stopping transgender for everyone, and so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's records. We can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. This is a fine post, which should have come out 5 months ago. Should have come out 5 months ago. Very fine post, which we should have seen 5 months ago. Speaking of Larry Summers, who he was one of the three people he referenced there. If you don't know who Larry Summers is, it's this handsome gentleman right here. Brian Krause is saying, breaking, former Harvard president Larry Summers to step down after emails with Jeffrey Epstein were revealed. Note that Donald Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein are exponentially worse. I have no idea. He's like, it's time for Donald Trump to follow the same blueprint, step down. Who agrees? You don't even know what the hell Larry Summers did. How could you know what Trump did was worse? Name one person who said he did anything? One. Idiot. idiocy. It's clownish. It's clownish. So goodbye, Larry Summers. I hope you rot in prison. That would be nice. That would be nice. And he's obviously a Democrat because he's former president of Harvard, and you don't get to be there unless you're a lunatic lefty. So, yeah. There's that. There's that. Trump was supposed to replace Obamacare but never presented a plan to do so. This goes back to 2017. You're correct. You're correct. Was the fight worth it for Trump to finally stop trying to block the release of files after 4 months? I don't know. You're preaching to the choir on that. I'm with you on that. It's the exact same thing. Should have had this back in July. So I guess that is 4 months, not 5. Should have had this ages ago. It's terrible. Hands One Pack is agreeing with you, saying Trump F up by ever opposing the release of the files only puts him into it. Yep. Telling people to shut up. So I guess you can say, those of you who are critical of MTG, which there's reason, she's given plenty of reasons to be critical of her. At the very least, it does seem that she's had some level of success in getting Trump to change his tune, right? I mean, he finally is there. But this is where we're at. I mean, this is where we come to here. Laura Luma reporting, Representative Raskin, Jamie Raskin, one of the leaders of the J6 committee who pushed the President Trump to be jailed during the 2024 election, is now telling Marjorie Traitor Greene she's welcome to join the Democrat Party. Here's Jamie Raskin, slun that he is.
Let me just say a couple more things, you great Florida Democrats. One of them is we are a big tent. We must be a huge, vast tent. I say this is a party that's got room for Marjorie Traitor Greene if she wants to come over. We got room for anybody who wants to stand up for the Constitution and for the Bill of Rights today. One of my colleagues who left from South Carolina, Trey Gowdy, said to me on the way out, he said, you know, Raskin, you're not a bad guy. The problem with you is you're a liberal. I said, you're damn right I'm a liberal. The heart of that word is liberty. And I'm a progressive.
No, that's not what it means.
The heart of that word is progress. But my favorite thing to call myself today is a conservative because I want to conserve the land, the air, the water, the climate system, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the National Labor Relations Act, the Fair Labor Standards Act, the Voting Rights Act, Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, everything that party of authoritarians wants to destroy is everything we're going to conserve.
Seriously. So then what part of that is progressive? I don't understand. I don't understand anything he's talking about. He's just shouting slogans here. So it sounds like a bar full of like 14 people.
And defend in America. We are the party of the conservatives, the liberals, and the progressives. All the patriots today are in the party of democracy.
Oh, sure. Hardcore patriots. Hardcore. They just want to transfer your kids, jack up your taxes, and to give you terrible medicine, cut you off at the knees if you're a white man, and transfer your children. But otherwise, yeah, no, they're wonderful. They're wonderful at that. Wonderful indeed. But the point here is that he's inviting Marjorie Traitor Greene to join them. That's what that's who she's courting. That's it right there. So I do think she accomplished something because let's face it, we as Allegan pointed out, as I pointed out, as a lot of people pointed out, it took 4 months for us to get to this point where he's calling for the release of the files. And I don't know that he would be there yet, but for Marjorie Taylor Greene. But the what she did here, what she's been saying, the dissent that she's sowing there, I got a hard time being Team MTG. I got real problems with her. I'm sorry. Those people are terrible human beings. And they don't care about the victims. None of them care about the victims. All they care about is harming Trump. And that's what you signed up with. I'm going to team up with the people who I know and I've seen for the last 8 years that their sole objective is how can we best harm Trump? And that's what you sided with. So, no, I don't think that's an America-only policy. I don't think it's America first. I don't think it's America only. I think it's a stupid idea. And even if that helped bring Trump to this, I'm sorry. I can't wash that stain away from MTG. I did not read the Summers emails. He was asking Epstein for dating. Oh my God. The $2,000 payoffs from tariff fees seem like pandering, similar to his COVID payoffs. They didn't work for 2020, so I doubt they'll work for midterms. Oh, you're saying they didn't work for 2020. In 2020, they were galvanized to bring down the big orange evil. They won't be galvanized like that in 2026. So I don't know. I can't tell you how that will impact. This is the last video I wanted to share with you before I go to the phone lines. I think this is the clip I have of this is the video of MTG talking about being branded a traitor by Trump.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. We have some more breaking news tonight. Earlier, we told you President Trump announced he is withdrawing his support for Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has just responded. We want to read you again what President Trump said on Truth Social. He said, I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of...
We'll fast forward through this part here because we read this. Fast forward.
The last few minutes. She posted this. She said, President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send these text messages today. We will show you those in a moment. She said, apparently this is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files. She says, it's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out and that he actually goes to this level, she says. She went on to say, but really, most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes, are going broke trying to feed their families, and are losing hope of ever achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. I have supported President Trump with too much of my precious time, too much of my own money, and fought harder for him, even when almost all other Republicans turned their back and denounced him. And she also said, but I don't worship or serve President Trump. I worship God. Jesus is my savior, and I serve my district, GA 14, and the American people. I remain the same today as I've always been, and I will continue to pray that this administration will be successful because the American people desperately deserve what they voted for. She said, for me, I remain America first and America only.
So when you fracture MAGA, and make it less likely that we'll have a Republican House next term, how is that America first and America only? How? How is that doing that? How is that accomplishing that? You're accomplishing just the opposite. You can claim to be America first, America only, but your actions actually serve to do just the opposite.
And these are those text messages that she referenced in that tweet. You see those on your screen. One of those going to somebody named Natalie in her phone. It says, "In every single interview I have done, I have defended President Trump. I said over and over, the women say he did nothing wrong, and their attorney says he's the only one who helped. And the Democrats had 4 years to release the files, but did nothing. Stop ignoring the women. Many of them literally voted for President Trump and say so publicly. Them being raped as teenagers is not a hoax." She also attached this tweet addressed to someone labeled as DJT in her phone. It says that check the flight logs of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there like 26 times, Hillary too. For many of us, releasing the
I think DJT is probably Donald John Trump.
Epstein files has always been for the women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believed that the Democrat bad guys like the Clintons were entangled and involved with him. Epstein was the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. Again, Marjorie Traitor Greene is claiming that this was a text message that she sent to President Trump. She says she believes this is what sent him over the edge today, as he just announced he is withdrawing his support and endorsement.
That wasn't the clip I was looking for, obviously. Apologize for that. I had it here. Where are you? I did this one. I'm not sure where I put it. Oh, this was it. It was on The View today. That's what it was. I just didn't want to see any more of The View. But I do want you to see this clip.
She was here last week. Anyway, she's in the middle of a very public breakup with Trump. He's been tearing into her on social media, calling her Marjorie Traitor Greene, and even used her recent appearance on The View as proof she's gone far left. Yesterday, she told CNN the impact it's been having on her. Watch.
He called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong. And those are the types of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics.
Marjorie Traitor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Well, I don't know about that. He likes to say things like that. And, putting the fear of God in her is not a very nice thing at all. I mean,
Oh, shut up. No one cares about your opinion, you idiots. When she goes on CNN and basically sits there apologizing, for the Republicans being part of the toxicity, as if justifying the crap that they've been saying, that this is a two-way street. I'm sorry. I can't with this woman anymore. I can't. This is love me, love me, love me. This is Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, love me crap. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm out on MTG. I can't. That's what I saw. It got me so upset when I saw that. I remember that was a clip I saw of her talking about being called a traitor, where she annoyed me. So I had to share it with you, because so that this way you'll understand why I feel that way about her. You don't go out there and start apologizing for my part in that. Like, just stop it. And saying that he's weaponized, just stop it. Stop it. Like, all of a sudden she's a target now. Yeah. She's way ahead of Liz Cheney, right? Way ahead of Adam Kinzinger. Way ahead of countless people on the left. Just stop it. Just stop it. I'm such a victim. And I'm sorry. She did everything Adam Kinzinger here except cry. I'm so sorry. Sickening. Very, very sickening. I don't have patience. Anyway. So those are my thoughts on this feud. And frankly, yeah. Trump could have done all this better, but what MTG did here, I don't really love him going after her the way he has, as aggressively as he has. I don't love that. But at this point, I have no interest in MTG. I'm done there. Been there, done that. And it feels as if this is her looking to lap up power. That's just how it feels to me. But you may disagree with me. If you do, please call, because we're at that time. We're at that time. You guys, courtesy of your amazing generosity, and I want to give a special recognition to OO guys, who was very generous tonight. Have basically, you hit the goal. Look at you. 15 out of 15. We've done it. We did it. We hit our goal. So now it's time for me to open the phone lines. If you're wondering what that number is, the number is here somewhere. It's here somewhere. Here it is. 972-454-0703 is the number to call. 972-454-0703. 972-454-0703. You call that number if you'd like to talk to me right here, right now. That is definitely the number. I should probably turn off my do not disturb, which I've done now. So my phone lines are open. You can weigh in with me on Marjorie Traitor Greene, anything else that's going on in the news. You can talk to me about Nate or about death. Not that that's related, but I started the show off by talking about how, if you came late, I started the show off by talking.
Call from
Brian.
Hey, Brian, hold up a second.
Yes, sir.
I started the show off by talking about how a friend of the family, a young woman in her late 20s, who's grew up with my daughter, became a widow as a result of a tragic accident this weekend. And it's given me a lot of time to think about death and mortality and how we view these things. So if you're interested in talking to me about that, you can certainly call about that or whatever else is on your mind. Speaking of which, I got Brian on the phone here. Brian!
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. You never got that recipe for Appalachian stew from me, so.
That was you.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh my gosh. Oh, gosh, that was. I still have nightmares about that. I told my family about how someone got on the phone with me and was recommending to me Appalachian stew, and it took me a second to realize what the heck you were describing. And when I did, I was just not good.
To be fair, I haven't eaten it since early 80s, late 70s. So
okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's not really making me feel any better about it. So what's on your mind tonight?
My thing is this thing with Marjorie Traitor Greene.
Okay.
I personally do not like that woman.
Mm-hmm.
But Trump is really pushing me.
Okay.
He's gone after Chip Roy
Right.
over CRs.
Yep.
He's gone after Massey.
Yep.
Rand Paul.
Yep.
He's ripping us to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have no intentions of voting this midterm because he's made it clear that he does not want my vote. If I believe the Epstein hoax, he doesn't want my vote. Fine, you won't get it. Now, my representative is it's Chuck Edwards, but we conveniently leave out the H in his first name.
Okay.
He's like just barely right of center.
Okay.
And we had Madison Cawthorn, and we loved him, but boy, did he make somebody mad. And I'm done with Trump. He's just pushed me to the side.
Well, I understand why you would feel that way. I get that totally. I mean, like I said, I was critical of so many things that he has said, and particularly the way he handled this Epstein thing, which I spent 15, 20 minutes like blasting how that was terrible. And I don't like the way he goes after certain folks on the right. So I'll ask you this. Do you think that our country is better off under Democrat leadership?
Oh, absolutely not. I will never vote for a Democrat, but I won't vote to help Trump right now.
I understand why you're feeling that way now. I get that. But you recognize that you staying home and others feeling like you staying home basically means that the last 2 years of the Trump administration, nothing will get done, which means we're not going to get J.D. Vance. We're not talking about Trump ever running for an election ever again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to the extent nothing gets done, because we'll get an obstructionist House, so we're not going to get any legislation that you or I would be happy with. So what's going to end up happening then? So we'll end up basically having nothing getting done. And everyone who felt that they were investing in a new change, a new direction for our government, and nothing gets done, they're going to basically stay home, and the Democrats will win.
Yep.
And how is
And
that
thank Trump for that?
Is that a better America?
Is it a better America? Probably not.
It's arguably likely a much worse America.
Oh yeah, and I think it would push things. Everybody's worried about civil war, and having that happen may push it a little closer because you can't be middle anymore.
You can't.
If you're middle, you're demonized by both sides.
Yep.
Ask Cinema, Manchin, Massey, Chip Roy. If you're center, you're enemies on both sides.
Yeah. I think you're ignoring that a lot has been done under Trump. Like I said, I don't like what he said. I often find I don't like things he says. Sometimes he makes me laugh out loud. But I often dislike things he says. But I understand, but I think that the overwhelming majority of his policies are exceptional.
I mean, I love all of the wars he stopped. I love that. But to crucify your own people,
it's stupid.
I mean, I would compare it to the snake eating its tail, but it seems to me the snake has its head up its butt.
and your frustration is palpable and justified. Everything you're saying is palpable and justified. What I'm saying is his words suck sometimes and are stupid and petty, and he can be very petty. But his policies by and large are great.
Yeah.
So do you really want to stand in the way? Do you really want to stand in the way of that? I mean, and also, I think you should bear in mind also that you might feel very differently a year from now. I mean, this is how you're feeling right now, but you might feel very differently a year from now.
I got Chuck Edwards for a representative. And both my senators are, well, one senator's new, the other one is retiring. Thank goodness.
Right. Right.
Tom Tillis. Oh, yeah. I mean, but the whole Epstein thing, if Trump had just kept his mouth shut.
Yep.
Just not said a word.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody brings it up, say, yes, that's a priority, but we have bigger issues right now.
Right.
And just let people forget it.
Yeah. Just stay out of it. But that's his pettiness. That's the bad with the good.
And unfortunately, the bad's outweighing the good right now.
But is it? Is it really?
I get the economy shrank during the shutdown, but prices are still outrageous.
Yep.
And you can say what you want about tariffs, but if you raise the cost, they raise the price.
That's not really true. That's not really true. I mean, yeah, it can be true. It can be true. But it's not really. It's not like a 1-for-1 type of thing for sure.
No, it's not 1-for-1.
It's never a 1-for-1. And the question ultimately is, as far as our long-term health, are we not better off if we have more domestic-made products?
Oh,
see, tariffs have two potential. The two ways you can look at tariffs. You look at tariffs as a revenue-raising thing for the government, or you can look at tariffs as a way of basically increasing our dominance in the world and like a negotiation tool for dealing with foreign countries. So in that sense, the cost of, let's say, let's assume Colombia, we tariff Colombia. Price of coffee goes up. You feel that.
Oh, I love coffee.
Right. Okay. So you'll feel that, right? And if, the price of coffee goes up by from, I don't know, a jar, one of those large jars of instant coffee costs $10, right? So let's assume it goes up to $14, okay? Because of tariffs, which I think is, and that's much, much more than it ever would go up. It's not going to go up by 40%. But let's assume it goes up by like $1. Right. So you'll notice that over the course of a year, if you end up going through a bottle a week, so you end up, it costs you an extra $50 a year. And it's not just coffee, it's everything is costing more. So if that's the case, but as a result of tariffs, there's better economy that's flowing here because there's more people who are, there's more of an investment here domestically. So our economy ends up flourishing and you're making more money. You have a potential net gain. The problem is that net gain is something you don't feel the first month or even the first year. It usually would take several years before you notice that net gain. Now, I can't promise you that there is a net gain, but it certainly would take several years before that net gain. Like, in other words, so instead of you're making, I'm just throwing out random numbers here, right? But I'm saying is, so if the price of your goods overall go up by 10%, which I think it probably would go up by less than that, but your net income as a result of tariffs ends up going up by 25%. So yeah, your bills are higher, but you're also far more positioned to pay your bills. So that's why I'm saying it's not something that's can be simply put into like, well, things cost more. If you're looking at the long-term health.
I agree. And it's more of the timing of the tariffs. We just spent 4 years with near double-digit inflation. We need to calm things down. Then jack up the tariffs all you want. Because, we'll stabilize. And then, that extra $20 a week or whatever doesn't hurt as bad.
Right. But with tariffs, what we're saying is inflation isn't really coming at us. We're just not seeing a deflation. So in that sense, right? I mean, I guess we're not seeing a deflation of prices going down. Although in some areas we are. I mean, the price of gas certainly has gone down dramatically under Trump compared to what we had a year ago. So it's down by like 50 to 75 cents in locally for me per gallon. So that's it definitely has been some places where prices have gone down, but yeah, as far as that being something that's as far as that being something that your total bills going up or down, I can't speak to that, obviously, but I'll tell you that I understand your frustration. But you sort of need to to me, I'm like, was I offended when Trump said that? Because I was calling for the release of the Epstein files all the way back in July. I was joining Diligent Denizen, who's the loudest hawker I've seen about releasing the files. He went day after day. He would have spaces on X, this guy. So are you familiar? You know what spaces are, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. So for my audience who doesn't know what spaces are basically where you could have one person opens what's called a space, and they invite panelists up. They can have up to 12 panelists with them, and they'll talk about a particular topic, and they'll show the topic on the top, and people will sit and listen in. And he would have thousands of live viewers, and he would go for 12 hours a day, pounding the drum about release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. This is well before any of the Democrats cared about it. This because Barack Obama had not yet been attacked, and before that happened, none of them wanted the Epstein files released. So, and he would have thousands of people, and he would talk about Diligent would talk about it for 12 hours a day. And and what I'm saying is, and he was similarly frustrated with Trump, and I would join him there because I consider Diligent a friend, and I would be up there. So when Trump came out and made that statement that if you're screaming about the Epstein files, you're not a true MAGA, and I don't need your support, and go jump in a lake and F you, basically, I took it personally.
Yeah.
Because
obviously I did too.
Yeah, I took it very personally. And then I realized that, like, okay, this is an area where he's going to be petty. And okay, I don't like what he said to me, but that's the Trump immaturity, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's immaturity. Instead of dealing with this issues head on, he's displaying immaturity and saying, "Shut up and listen to me." And I can deal with that immaturity because his policies are so exceptional. And I certainly want those policies to continue. And I saw what an utter disaster America was with millions of illegals streaming across our borders under Biden, with cities basically becoming broker and more crime ridden, with terrible policing policies, prices skyrocketing, paying for ridiculous, donating billions of dollars to one war after another, by the cartload. We were just shipping money out. It was everything about America was, and not to mention the utter censorship of folks like me. So that's why, I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't like what he said to me. That was kind of rude, but I know he's petty and immature sometimes. And I'm gonna be the bigger person and basically say, I need what you're doing here. So even if I don't like you sometimes, even if I get kind of annoyed with you sometimes, yeah, I can recognize that you have the power to get away with it with me, because the alternative, even a different Republican, the alternative would be crap. Like, and if not crap, like suicidal type of self-destruction for America. So that's why I put up with it. And that's why I'm like, no, he needs to have that power in the House. He needs to have that support, even though he's being a jerk right now.
And I agree, he needs the House. So why throw it away?
It's frustrating. I expect to talk with you several times more over the next year before we come to elections. All right. And as much as and ultimately to get you to cast that ballot for Cuck Edwards. Okay.
Not likely.
I
may,
unless you
depending
can
on
primary
who's
him
running
out.
for Senate, I
Yeah.
might vote for that one. But
You can primary him
Yeah.
out. Go primary him out, Brian.
you know, I called the Republican Party and asked what it would take to get me on the ballot. They said, "Well, unless you walk in with a couple $1 million, a lot more than you can handle."
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
I'm
sad
like,
reality.
well, okay then.
That's the sad reality. I gotta let you go, Brian, but this was a great call. And I look forward to talking to you
All
again
right.
soon. Take care, brother.
Take.
Call from to
Lou.
Yeah, I'm watching the show on TV. Does he take live calls?
He does. Who are you watching?
well-
Which show are you watching?
Well, I'm watching. I don't know. I was just flipping around on YouTube, and I just came across this guy. I've never seen him before, and I've been watching him for about a half hour, and he just said he was going to take some live calls. You know, he's talking about Marjorie Traitor Greene.
Oh.
That's when I started watching.
Right.
And he said he's going to take some live calls, and I just wanted to make a simple call.
Okay.
I saw on television today this thing with the truck drivers getting these illegals getting these CDL licenses.
Right.
And I saw this one from Pennsylvania where he's connected with terrorists. I don't know if you're aware of that. Well, I'm watching the news tonight or this afternoon. I'm retired.
Okay.
And I noticed on his license, he had that star on there. You know, the star that you have to have if you want to get on an airplane or get into a government building.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no,
And
this sounds
nobody-
like good stuff. What's your name? I'll try to get you on.
Nobody's mentioned it. Oh, my name is John Daneline.
John.
I'm calling from Indiana, Michigan City.
Cool. All right, John, can you hold?
Yeah.
All right. Just 1 minute.
What's his name?
His name is Joe. Are you enjoying the show?
Yes, I am.
Good, great. All right, John, hold on a minute.
Okay, thank you.
He seems so nice. He really seems so nice. He seems so nice. All right, so now I gotta do this like I'm on a radio. How would they do it? They just sort of start like they're all in the middle of talking, and then when they're in the middle of talking, like all of a sudden they just open up the line. They say, "Hey, now we got John on the line." So let's do that because he seems awesome. All right, here we go. No, and that's the bottom line for what America has to do. That's what America has to do. But now we got to go over to John, who's on the line. How you doing tonight, John?
Oh, fine, Joe. How are you?
I'm great. So
I'm a little nervous, so bear with me because I don't usually
John,
call
I'm going
in.
to tell you this. John, do not be nervous. You are. I can tell already in your voice. You're a natural, and I'm always, and I'm also famous for being like obscenely nice. So
Okay.
I'm gonna. By the time this call is over, I'm gonna make sure you feel like $1 million.
All right. Well, I hope so. I hope I make you feel like $1 million.
I got confidence in you.
Okay. Well, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please. Tell what's on your mind. You had something about driver's licenses.
Yes, you know how there's a business in the news about all these CDLs,
Yeah.
drivers, and the crashes and the illegals getting the licenses.
Right.
Well, I was watching the news this afternoon. I'm retired.
Okay.
And they showed this one guy he's got a Pennsylvania CDL driver's license, and he's connected with the terrorists. Are you aware of that? Did you
No,
see
I
that on the
hadn't heard that.
Okay, well, he's connected with, I don't know if it's Al Qaeda or Hamas, but he's connected with one of them. I don't remember exactly. Well, I noticed, and nobody, I've seen it several times on the news today, where in the upper right-hand corner, where you got that star,
Mm-hmm.
you have to, remember in I don't remember when it was, before the pandemic, we were going to have that on there, and then they postponed it for a while. And now it's back on again.
Right.
Well, I noticed he had that star on that driver's license. Well, to get that star on there, you have to present your birth certificate to your license branch to get that star. So that means this guy is in this. He's there illegally. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, you did. You mentioned that.
And he's got a driver's license that says he's an American citizen, because you can't get that driver's license with that star on it unless you were born here.
Wow.
Or you're a citizen. You have to produce a birth certificate to get that. Because I know, because my wife was married previously in Pennsylvania, and she got divorced, and then she moved here, and we got married, and she had to send back to Pennsylvania, get her marriage license. She had to get her divorce decree from Indiana, and then she had to produce her marriage license from Indiana to get married to me, because her name changed.
Right.
And I had to produce I thought I had a birth certificate at the time, which I didn't. It was just that complimentary thing they give the parents. I was born in 1951. So I had to apply for mine through Indiana, which I got it real quick. And then I got that license with that star on it.
Right.
And this guy has a driver's license issued from the state of Pennsylvania, showing that he is not only is the American citizen, but he was born here.
That's crazy.
And my point of this is, I got angry with Donald Trump in 2020. I was listening to your previous caller, and I get mad with some of the issues too, but I'm like you. I'm in this for the greater good. I don't know any president. I'm 74 years old. I've never agreed with any president 100% of the time.
Right.
I'm in for the greater good. But I saw, but remember back when in the election in 2020, Trump said all these illegals were voting. And people, oh, no, he's full of it, blah, blah, blah. And then you see this on the news, and I just couldn't believe there wasn't one news broadcaster that said, hey, look at this. He's got a star in the right-hand upper corner of his driver's license. And nobody has mentioned that. And it's like, I'm thinking, I've never believed when they said, oh, there's no illegals voting. Well, of course there are.
I'm actually...
Who can say 100% there's not one illegal alien in the United States that votes?
Yeah, 1 second there. 1 second, brother.
Especially in states like California and Illinois. I'm here in Indiana, and you cannot get a driver's license in Indiana if you're not a citizen. Because I'm still one of these old school guys. I get the newspaper. I'm not on the internet. I don't have a cell phone. I don't have any of this. I'm like, I'm from the 20th century. I still get the newspaper, and I read the police briefs. And they put in, this is a small city where I'm in northern Indiana, and they put in there about the petty things, people getting picked up for DUI and stuff, and they put the age in there and so on and so forth. And they put in there, oh, this person's 46 years old, never issued a driver's license. So one day I'm at the grocery store, and I ran into a county cop. And I asked him about it. I said, what, I said, I read the newspaper all the time, and I see where these guys are 25, 35, 40, 50 years old, and they never got issued a driver's license. And I said, what gives? And he says, I said, are these people citizens? He says, no, they're illegal.
And this is only everything you're saying, John, is only underscoring how desperate we are to have Trump in there and Trump being able to be effective, right? I mean, it's only you're really. I appreciate your call, brother, because you're only bolstering the point that I was trying to make to that last caller, which is, we can take offense at some of the stupid things that Trump will say sometimes, even to us, and say, well, that's it. I'm not voting the next election. You don't want my support. I'm not giving you my support. Okay, that's great. But so you want him to basically be crippled and do nothing now? Or you want him to be able to keep doing what he's doing?
Yeah, I want him to keep going. That's why I was so frustrated with your caller, and I'm not mad at him. I understand his anger.
Right.
But when he said he was going to just sell out the election, I thought, you're an American citizen.
Yeah.
I hope he's still watching your show.
Yeah.
Don't get all wrapped up in this. This is what's wrong with Americans today. They think we have to like our president, and he's our personal friend. No, your president is not your personal friend. What you want the president to do is not get you a job. You want him to get the red tape out of the way.
Yes.
So you can, if you want to create a job,
yes,
you can start a business easier. If
yes,
you work with somebody,
yes,
you can make more money, keep more of your money because your taxes are lower. That's what it's about. The president isn't your friend.
John, have you hit subscribe yet to my channel? Are you subscribed?
Well, I can't because I don't have the internet.
You're never gonna find me again. This is this is killing me.
I have YouTube.
Oh, okay. So on YouTube, I want you to hit the follow. Okay, can you do that? So this way, and also if you can, there's a little bell icon that you can hit there. So this way you get notified when I'm coming live. Because I do live shows. I do a live show 4 or 5 times a week. Like usually in the evening hours like this. Maybe a little earlier.
I can't ring any bells or anything because I got YouTube on Comcast cable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no bells or anything I can ring.
The name of my channel is Good Lawgic. People call me Good Lawgic, like logic, but LAW. Good Lawgic. And you happen to be awesome at this. Everything you're saying there, I was like, I should move over and just let you host the show.
Well, I'm a news junkie.
Well, I really hope the next time I open the phone lines, I get to have you come in, because what you're saying there, especially that last part, I wish I had said to the last caller, and I'll try to remember to say it the next time I hear from Brian, which is you don't have to like him personally to say I like what this guy's doing, and his job is to keep government the hell out of our way.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way. Even I used to, when I was a younger man. I'm 74. When I was a younger man,
I got that from the math on your 1951 birthday.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
But when I got out of the military in 1973, I was a registered Democrat because my father was.
Right.
Well, then I voted for Jimmy Carter. Well, when he let all the draft dodgers come back from Canada, I don't know how you feel about that, okay? But I'm going to tell you my opinion. With no repercussions, I was so angry because I got drafted and I didn't, people told me, hey, John, run to Canada.
Yep.
And I thought, I don't want to go to Canada because I don't want to ever not be able to come back to my country.
Yep.
And this guy turned around and let all the draft dodgers come back.
It made you feel like a sucker.
Exactly. But you know what? I'm glad I got drafted because I was a snotty-nosed 18-year-old kid. And when I got drafted in the Army, I got straightened out.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's true.
Best thing that happened to me.
Well,
And
you certainly seem like you have your head on straight now.
But anyway, I know you probably want me to get off the air, but what I wanted to say was the Democratic Party left me.
Yep.
I did not leave the Democratic Party.
Same.
The Democratic Party is not the party of John Kennedy
Correct.
or Robert that followed, because I was alive.
You're a liberal.
When
You're a liberal.
Yeah, but I mean, I was alive when those guys got assassinated.
Right.
I remember when Robert Kennedy came to Michigan City. We're only a town of about 28,000 people. We're right between South Bend, Indiana, and Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
If that means anything.
I'm sufficiently familiar to know.
All the young people were for Robert because Robert, he was a good human being,
Yep.
But those guys couldn't get elected in the Democratic Party today.
No way.
In some states, they might not even get into the Republican Party.
No, it's all the party of shock and extreme.
Yes.
All right, John, you were great. Seriously, I really hope you call back soon, because the next time I have call-ins, because I love your take on things, brother.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I hope you do talk to that guy again. I hope he's listening because the country and his city and his family isn't about Trump. It's about him, and it's about all of us.
Amen.
Like you said to him, he'll be gone in 3 years.
Yep. And then what? And then what?
Yeah, and then
You
what?
want to be living under a democratic regime? Because I don't ever want to see that again.
Oh my God, they want to pack the court. They want to.
It's unbelievable. It's just going to be. It'll be mind blowing. It'll be mind blowing. Yeah.
We'll lose our country.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I think your name's
Joe.
Joe?
Yeah, Joe.
Joe, thanks a lot for putting me on. I really appreciate it, and I hope I'm not ruining.
No, you were great. This was my privilege. Thank you, my brother. Hey, did it work? Did I make you feel like $1 million?
Yes, you did.
I see.
Absolutely.
Promises made, promises kept. All right.
Are you in New York? Are you in New York?
I have a New York accent because I grew up there. I actually live in Jersey now.
Oh, okay. Well, I see the New York PD on your.
Oh,
hat.
the NYPD. That's a long story. I'm not. I was never in the NYPD. It's a whole. It's a statement which became part of branding for my channel. But I was never in the NYPD.
Well, no, I didn't assume you were and weren't.
Right.
You support the police.
Right.
I get it.
Right. That's definitely true. So.
Okay.
All right,
well,
my brother. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too, and thank you again. Bye.
Well, that was great. I like John. Phone number, just use Discord. No, I don't know how to do that. MTG beef began with the Iran bomb. She said Trump Jew cuck, now aligned with Jew haters and anti-Trump. Inflation is currently low, but after Biden's superinflation, we're still feeling the hurt. That's true. And thank you for this, Kimmy. Sent DM with what caller is referring to. Yeah, so did Kimmy. So did Kimmy. She did that too. She did that too. Where are we at here? Oh yeah, I was manning the phones. That's what was happening here.
Call from.
Everyone's
To
so
accept,
secretive.
press 1. To send a voicemail.
I should make people like say their names to like pick up on them. Hello.
Yeah, I'm on. Joe?
Who's calling, please?
It's Greg.
Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Okay. But what I want to say, Joe, is this. People have to be patient. And I don't think the Republicans are doing a good job of explaining it. Biden destroyed the economy for 4 years. It's going to take time to repair it. But the Democrats are smart. They're already blaming the high prices on Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that gets people emotionally fired up. Prices aren't going down. But the Republicans don't do a good enough job of explaining that it's going to take some time for the economy to recover. I watched little Mike Johnson. He just doesn't have it. He can't explain to the people you have to be patient and the economy's going to turn around. And I know Trump's saying this about the stock market and it's going up, but let's face it, a lot of people don't have what you and I might have. I don't have a lot. You probably have a whole lot. But a lot of people are living day to day. Trump's trying to say it's going to get better, but the Republicans aren't doing the job they need to do to assure the people it's going to get better.
This is true. The messaging has been relatively weak, which is interesting considering that Trump is like the master of conveying things, and he's routinely talking about how the economy is getting better. But the people need to feel it. People need to feel it, and the focus needs to be, instead of looking for prices to go down, look for your paycheck to go up. That's
exactly, yeah.
Because that's really what he's trying to accomplish here. Instead of focusing on price going down, look at them staying level and your paycheck going up.
Yeah,
because
that's exactly right. Yeah,
because there's a new normal now. There's a new normal that was established by the disastrous Biden administration. So
yes, and
yeah,
with Biden, not allowing oil exploration, not allowing LNG exploration or exports. I mean, why the hell would a president not allow LNG exports to other countries? the illegal aliens, the costs to the country are insane.
Yep.
People don't realize that the costs that they have caused, the Democrats have caused this country. If we don't get rid of these illegal aliens, the costs will be on the government for the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand how much it costs. I spoke to you last week about it a little bit. They have no idea how much it costs to, number one, support them, number two, to get rid of them, and number three, I'm afraid we're going to lose our local congressman in Central Jersey because they're going to go gunning for him, which they have before, and he's not the most personable guy. But if we lose him, we'll only have one Republican congressman, I think, in New Jersey. And I just don't see the Republicans capable of doing the messaging just like they did not in the Chitterelli race in New Jersey. There is no way, if we had a decent Republican Party in New Jersey and around the country with the right messaging, like you say, Chitterelli would have lost by 12 points. I still, for the life of me, can't figure that one out.
I can't understand that either. I can't. I mean, when I had Rich Barris on here, I was asking him how it is that he lost so badly. And he's like, his big mistake was not accepting Trump's help, like distancing himself from Trump. But the reality is, you can't rely on Trump anymore. I mean, we have basically, one more election cycle for him to help people in the midterms. We need to start finding our own fresher, newer brand. And as much as I like J.D. Vance, and I do like J.D. Vance, I do sometimes have a concern that he doesn't have enough charm. Like I agree with so many things he says, and he can drop some great lines here and there. I think that sometimes it can be a little too wooden.
You mean dull?
Yeah. And
yeah. But then they're talking about Ted Cruz. Please, no more retreads, Joe. No more retreads. We have, and not Ramaswamy either. I do not like that guy. I think he's got a history I don't like. I'm trying to think of the right Republican that could actually come in and do it.
One thing Ramaswamy does have is he has charisma.
Yes, he does. He does. But it depends on who the Democrats are going to nominate. They keep talking about Josh Shapiro, but he's so short. I mean,
he is. He is so short.
I mean,
he's so little.
Can we have a 5'1" president?
Is he really that short?
I don't know. He looks shorter than me, and I'm no giant.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Joe. It's just that the Republican Party's got to get their messaging out. What are they doing with the millions and millions of dollars they get from people? Like, Chitterelli is one thing, and I understand he lost by a lot. And I know there was a lot of friction in the Republican Party in New Jersey between all of the people. But hopefully, you're right about Vance. But I'm trying to think of who else there is that could come up and be.
It's going to be Vance. I mean, Vance is going to be he's almost certainly going to be the nominee. He is.
You really think?
Unless there's a God forbid scenario with this administration where it falls flat on his face, yeah, I think he's probably going to be the guy. But I mean, look, it's very early to make a call on that. But he's certainly the heir apparent. I think DeSantis is also very flat. He feels.
Oh, God, not him.
He feels like very forced.
Yes.
Like someone who's like, "Come on, guys, come on." It's like,
but I can, yeah.
I just, yeah.
But I can understand why Trump doesn't like Chip Roy, because Roy stuck with DeSantis all the way to the end. Like, even when it was obvious that DeSantis had no chance. Massey, I get tired of listening to him as a maverick. He's boring after a while. And MTG, really disappointed in her. I thought she was better, but now she's turned out to be enough. And the things like you were showing tonight, the statement she's making, bizarre statements, attacking her own leader, Mike Johnson, that's like traitorous. You just don't do that. You're going to harm the party to the point.
She blamed the shutdown on the Republicans. Like, that is like a classic lefty speaking point. Like, how do you do
But
that?
Joe, that's a bad thing because people will think that's true.
That's my point. That's my point.
A lot of people don't realize that the Democrats, they needed 6 votes to get the damn bill
They
through.
will use her. They will use her as the poster child. That look, if you ask an honest Republican, they'll tell you that the shutdown was because of the Republicans.
Yes. And people, look, let's face it, there are a lot of people out there that haven't studied government like you and I have. You know, I happen to go to college, but a lot of people don't understand the inner workings of government. And when they just don't know it. And people get fed this line of garbage from the Democrats and they believe it. And I got this great fear that the House won't be held by the Republicans and we'll go back to inflation and everything else. I'll give you one example before you go to your next call. You know, the elderly are complaining that their Social Security will only go up 2.8%, but they don't realize that under Biden, it went up 1 year 8% because inflation was so high.
Yep.
And the Democrats will use statistics like that to harm Trump.
Correct.
And I just hope it gets better, man.
The messaging has to be more than just Truth Social posts. There's got to be actual message. There's got to be actual messaging.
Yeah. And I understand he has a grudge against these people. I don't blame him because he's helped them out and they've helped him. But yes, the messaging from the Republicans has to be a lot better. I hope they get their act together.
Amen.
And by the way, I still have a squirrel problem, but I don't have it as bad as I used to.
And hopefully you're not thinking Appalachians too.
Well, I was going to invite you to my house so we could shoot some squirrels and make some stew, but I'm like you. I do not eat wild animals.
All right. Take care, my brother. Have a good night.
Bye.
Death's Angel saying Vivek's biggest downfall is he supports H-1Bs. We need to stop all these visas. They're killing us in the tech industry. America first, we exist. Amen. We need to basically say we're putting a pause on.
Call from
Kimmy.
To accept, press 1.
Kimmy!
Hey!
How are you, hon?
I like John.
How can you not? How can you not like
He's
John? John is great.
great.
John was amazing.
He's great.
Yeah. No, he was really on point. I wasn't blowing smoke with him at all. Everything he was saying, I was like, yeah, I wish I said that to him. I wish I said that to Brian. So
Yeah. I did not notice the star on that CDL.
It's a great catch.
It did say at the top, undomiciled CDL.
Yeah. So, but that just means
Undomiciled.
So that just sounds to me like he's not living here in Pennsylvania, but this is just in Pennsylvania. This is some address.
No, what undomiciled means he is not a citizen of the United States.
Oh, is that what it means?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that hopefully John is still listening and he can feel better that it's not something that's going to mislead some federal employee into letting him into like the Capitol or something,
But it still has a star on it, so he can fly anywhere he wants to.
Yeah, true.
And he was on a terrorist watch list.
Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah. Anyway, oh my gosh. Give Trump, this is what I'm going to do. Everybody else can do what they want.
No, everyone listen to
Kimmy.
She's going to tell you what to do.
Look, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Linda. Listen, Linda.
You're not listening.
Listen, Linda. Okay, I'm going to give Trump 2 weeks. Rich just got a hold of him over the weekend.
Uh-huh.
And he got back on the plane and he put a truth out, released the Epstein files. And that was big.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he already had things today on his schedule, like what is that soccer FIFA thing? And I saw that and I'm like, okay, the optics don't look great. He's there for the World Cup soccer thing. He's got that stupid gold trophy in his in the Oval Office again, and has all the FIFA people around him. And I'm like, no, man, you should have, like, I don't know, truckers in there, or farmers in there, or manufacturing people in there. But no, he had World Cup soccer people in there.
Is that this year, by the way?
Huh?
Is that coming this summer?
2026, this coming summer.
Sweet.
I think it's
that's
this
right.
summer. And isn't it in Seattle?
Is it?
I don't know if it's in Seattle or Los Angeles, California, somewhere. I don't know. I don't follow soccer.
That can help the economy.
Yeah, it'll help a blue state. Anyway, I want to give him 2 weeks, because I think he's going to pivot, but he's turning, like Barnes says, the bad thing and the good thing about Trump is he can turn on a dime.
True.
And he's done it so many times in his
He did it. He did it on the Epstein files, right? I mean, all of a sudden he's like, release the files.
We literally
Release
watched
the
him turn on.
files.
Literally watched him turn on a dime. So let him see if he can turn on a dime and focus on domestic. What he really needs to do is he needs to, like, take a tour of manufacturing plants out. You know, he needs to go visit the people and get the pulse of the people again. You know, I remember in 17, about this time, he was going on a Make Christmas Great Again tour, and he was going around, and there were like Christmas trees on either side of the stage, and you know, he was out with the people.
I think he was in Wisconsin for Christmas that year.
Yeah, and he has not gone out. They've got him so cocooned. And Rich Ferris thinks it's Susie Wiles that has him kind of cocooned.
Yeah.
Apparently, it is almost impossible to get a word through to him unless you go through Susie Wiles first. And Barnes calls her Swampy Susie. Apparently, she's got ties to Pfizer, and I didn't know she was Pat Summerall's daughter.
I didn't know that either, but now that you say it, I see the family resemblance.
I don't know what Pat Summerall looked like.
Pat Summerall here for another matchup of the Cowboys and the Redskins.
Yeah.
He was great.
Anyway, needless to say, apparently she has a lot of lobbyist and donor connections, and I really think that the neocons have a foothold in with him right now, and he was not listening to the right people. I know J.D. Vance definitely has been trying to reach through. Maybe when Rich talked to him, that helped. And
so I'll ask you this, because someone here in the chat is saying it's not like President Trump hasn't had assassination attempts on his life, but Ms. Kimmy wants him to run around the country. So what would you say about the fact that so many lunatics out there are willing to take a shot at him?
We'll have him indoors and have really, really good screening. He spoke at Charlie Kirk's funeral.
True.
I mean, you just have.
But that's different from going to like a
screening.
plant. That's different from going to a plant.
Well,
right?
okay, I get that. I understand that. Okay, so have them come to him. You know, have pick 50 manufacturers, like independent manufacturers, small business manufacturers. Pick 50 one from each state. Have them come in for a seminar. You know, he can figure it out. He's a showman. He can figure it out and have it safe at the same time.
True.
But he needs the voice of the people right now. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give him 2 weeks and see if things are moderating. They don't have to be perfect, but I want to see if he's pivoting and turning away from the international stuff towards the domestic stuff.
All right. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think it is too.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
And pray for Nate, everybody.
Pray for Nate the
Wednesday.
lawyer, indeed.
Wednesday, he has his surgery. Pray for Nate.
12-hour surgery. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, God has him in the palm of his hand. I know that.
Amen.
All
right. Have a good
Take
night,
care.
Kimmy. Thank you. So I see that Kimmy's getting some flack here, but Allegan makes a point saying Trump has been to UFC fights post attempt on his life. A manufacturer plant is nothing.
Call from
Thad the man.
Thad the man. It's been a minute. How are you?
Hey, it's been a long time. I just had to call in after everything that's happened to me.
Okay. Are we going to get the short version?
Oh, the short version you got in the name. From the grave.
What?
I nearly died.
Oh. Well, I'm glad that didn't happen.
No. Beautiful doctor who was just brilliant saved my life.
Nice. Nice. What was the cause of near fatality?
Well, the long-term cause was an infection that got cured in one hospital, and then when I went into rehab to learn to walk, to go home, came the second thing, which they list on my discharge papers as severe hypoxic respiratory failure, which means I was close to not breathing.
Wow.
It was scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad you're okay. What's going on in your mind? What's going on in your mind tonight?
MTG. The first thing is, remember about 6 months ago we were talking about Ted Cruz, just after Tucker had him on. And the thing I remember is that not Tucker, Cruz was, I would call him 80% MAGA. When Trump lost the election, he was the one who was going to argue that it should be overturned in the Senate. Do you remember?
It rings a bell. He was certainly stuck more to him than the likes of Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham. That's for sure.
Right. He was fairly loyal, and they didn't agree on everything, but he supported a lot of things Trump did.
Right. And by the way, you're actually making a good point to those people who take offense that he decided, I'm going to work with Trump, even though he spent months branding me as lying Ted Cruz.
Yeah. You heard Reagan's half-loaf statement?
His what?
His half-loaf statement.
No, I don't remember that one.
I don't remember it exactly, but what he said is, I figure half a loaf is better than nothing. In a democracy, you can't always get what you want.
True. Although
if you Google it, you'll find a proper statement.
He was in a different era. Back in his day, you could negotiate with Democrats, and they were actually not committed towards evil. They were just committed towards.
I agree, and I'm hoping what we really got to do right now is mostly stick together and let the Democratic Party die, and something from maybe MAGA and Rhinos make two new parties or something.
Thad, this is the most frustrating part of what you're saying. It's that the Democratic Party was on the verge of dying, and I feel as if this whole Epstein thing gave them like a second life. Like it gave them like a thing, which never had to happen.
I don't think so. New York, California, Minnesota.
They were falling
Portland.
apart. They were falling apart. That's something else Rich mentioned
They're
on the
falling
show.
apart, but they were going to hang around.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it became cool to vote Republican, and all of a sudden like he just threw cold water on that. It's frustrating. It's
Yeah.
very, very frustrating.
But I don't think Epstein did it so much as his recent stuff. I think the major fight with MTG is about H-1B. I agree. I don't like her much myself. I remember during the election when she was posing in a photo on Twitter with a Bible open, a cross around her throat, on a necklace around her throat, a cross behind her, and it's like this big, loud message, "I'm Christian," which is actually, in terms of the Bible, I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something like, when you go and pray, do not pray like the Pharisees, showing all the people how great you are. Go silently pray to yourself. And then he says the Lord's Prayer in the Bible.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with her displaying her Christian faith. I have no problem with that at all, personally.
Well, the command from the Bible is you do it humbly.
Okay,
and you don't
but
go.
that's a critique of how she worships. That as far as her a politician, I don't have a problem with her. If that's how she wants to do, I don't have a problem with that at all.
I think that's the way she does everything. And I think the reason she's doing this now is because she wants to run for president.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know president, but I think she definitely is looking for a step up. That's what I agree with you on that. I got to go because I got to grab some more calls. And I also want to address this issue here that Jacob Castro brought up, which I want to I think he raised an interesting point that I sort of want to respond to. So, you got any final thoughts before I let you go?
No.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad you're okay, brother. And look forward to talking to you soon.
Talk to you soon again.
All right. Stay
Good
strong.
night.
Good night, Thad. Jacob is pointing out here, everyone's going to throw MTG on the overboard, but I have no issues with Trump supporting Lindsey Graham, which is suicidal. Let me tell you something, Jacob. Here's the point. There are countless snakes inside the Beltway. Some of them are blue snakes, some of them are red. Slithering around there. Slither. Countless. Lindsey Graham is certainly one of those snakes. We know this. Anyone who follows politics knows this. Knows that he's a classic neocon sucking up to power, stabbing Trump in the back the second that Trump looks like he's on his way out, and bending over and offering his ladybugs when he sees Trump is rising back up again, because he's a neocon. He's a terrible, terrible human being and only cares about himself and no one else. So yeah, no one likes Lindsey Graham. The issue with MTG is A, this was a big surprise. B, she's created issues for MAGA. She's created issues for the Republican Party. What she did is she holds herself out as America First, and frankly, there's this growing wing, which sort of aligns with the woke right, of just being loudly anti-Trump in a way that ultimately ends up kneecapping his effectiveness by providing a resurgent life to the Democrat Party. With comments like the shutdown is because of Mike Johnson. Now, when she says that, she justifies that by saying, or she says Thune, that they didn't abolish the filibuster, they should go nuclear. So she's like, we should have gone at it harder. Yeah, but the way the clip is, it's not Democrats who shut it down. Here's a Republican admitting that it's the Republicans. What I'm saying is, she's either selfish or stupid for not having enough foresight to recognize what the hell she's doing is damaging to not just Trump, but to an entire America First agenda, while holding herself out as being America First. It's a different type of animal from Lindsey Graham. So, yeah, I think that this is a new breed of animal, And I think that it needs to be called out. We all seen the neocons. This is a new breed. And I think it's destructive. It's destructive because it's kneecapping what could be into something less than. And I understand that Trump, to a degree, a significant degree, invites this upon himself with some of his childish, petty comments. He invites the kneecapping with some mistakes that he's made specifically with the Epstein file. But it still is a kneecapping. So anyone who's kneecapping staying his way today, I feel like we need to call this out. Lindsey Graham, as much as a snake as he is, he's not going to be kneecapping today. He's a problem for tomorrow. You're never going to hear me praise Lindsey Graham. And I really apologize for that visual with the ladybugs that I gave you all. Ladybugs aren't in Epstein's files because he's not interested in women, but sure, he's in a lot of his files. He's very compromised. Probably. That's probably true. I see one person here who tried calling me multiple times, who somehow never got through. Someone, which now would actually be a really good time. I'm thinking about calling them back just because I feel bad. And
Call from
Yanso. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Logic?
I am fine, Mr. Yanso. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. In this wonderful dark evening.
Now I feel bad. Hold on a second. I'm going to put you on hold, okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Call from
Sandy.
Sandy, you were the one I was referring to a moment ago when I said someone tried calling me a bunch of times. And I did something very unorthodox where I basically said, hey, I'm going to take this call because I saw you called a whole bunch of times. But I'm going to keep you on a tight window here because I have someone sitting on hold. So let me just take your call real quick. What's on your mind?
All right, thank you. I just wanted to say Marjorie Traitor Greene has not liked Mike, the Speaker of the House, since he got elected because he took her sugar daddy away when they got rid of McCarthy. And I haven't liked her since then because she showed who she was. She's all about the power and being underneath the power of whoever is she thinks is going to get her to the next run.
So she was a big McCarthy fan.
Yes, she was. She fought against the whole outing of McCarthy, and it was like watching a teenager on the House floor follow him around like a lost puppy dog. She was all about McCarthy.
Interesting.
And she hasn't liked Mike Johnson since. And as far as Rand Paul, I haven't been real happy with Rand Paul either. He's been nothing but obstructionist since the inauguration. Has he voted one time since January with Trump? I don't think he has.
He's been very, very difficult, and he wraps himself in the Constitution, but
he's full of baloney. He's not.
In what way do you say he's full of baloney? Because I'm sure many listeners disagree with you. So I'd like to hear your take on that.
Well, like this whole thing, this last vote, he voted against opening the government up this last time. And when he was asked why for the last final vote, he said, oh, well, because I'm not going to give up on the hemp market for Tennessee. What does the hemp market have anything to do with the Constitution? That was his excuse. Every single time he voted no for 15 or 16 votes, he had a different excuse for siding with the Democrats. His truth, if he wanted to tell the truth, is really, I think, because he's mad at Trump about something, because Trump didn't give him a position or whatever it was that he wanted. But he has been, I've watched him. I haven't seen him vote with Trump on a single thing since January. And I used to really like Rand Paul.
Same. I've lost a lot of respect for him also. But
So I don't think that Trump's in the wrong for calling people out for showing who they really are.
Right. Fair enough. I still think that Trump handled this whole thing poorly.
Well, the whole thing with the Epstein file back 4 or 5 months ago, yeah, he screwed that up bad. He let Pam Bondi have way too much control and way too much. She should have never been allowed to spend that much time on TV ever. He should have reined her in way early.
1,000%. And then when she screwed everything up, he was so vocal in his support for her that it was aggravating. I got to get
But
back.
I think
I
the
got to
whole.
get back to the other caller because I do have someone sitting on hold and I feel bad. Like I don't want his phone
Okay,
to
no
be too
problem.
high. But I appreciate your call. Was there any other thoughts you want to get out before I let you go?
Well, I think that people are being too hard on Trump because I think the whole thing is just a matter of he's calling balls and fouls. He's calling strikes and fouls, and that's how it is. He's letting people know he's got their MO now.
Fair enough. I think you're being a little bit too generous in your assessment of him, and I'm the guy who basically calls him arguably the greatest president ever. But I still think you're being a little too generous. But I understand why you feel that way, and yeah, I mean,
Well, I only feel that way because he's saying the things that I wish I had a platform to say myself.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm in 100% agreement with him on the people that he's been calling out lately. Maybe he could have taken a lighter touch with it, but I'm in 100% of agreement with how he's calling it.
well, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's and I certainly can understand why you feel that way. And let me get to the other call. All right.
All right. Thanks for taking my call, though.
You're welcome, Sandy. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yanzo.
Yes, I'm here.
I apologize for that wait.
No, you're fine. We all have a chance to talk, and I was fine with it.
Oh,
I don't mind waiting.
Very generous of you. So what's on your mind tonight?
Right. So, everyone's been talking about Marjorie Traitor Greene, and I wanted to, because he gave us two options, and I really wanted to touch on how fragile life could be, and it is.
Oh, okay.
And
So, okay, right. So you want to? I brought up the idea if you want to talk about mortality, that I'm okay with that too. Okay, go ahead.
So, it is sad how young were the couple?
He was 29. She's 28. They have 3 children. Yeah. The oldest is 5. The youngest is 1.
That's just horrible. I can't imagine. I'm 21 myself, and I have a younger brother. He is 17, turning 18 next year. And we lost our father this year in July. Yes, July.
I'm sorry.
And it was you're fine. But it is life. So what happened? If you allow me to explain.
Sure.
Okay. If you allow me to explain. Sorry, my mom just came in, told me to be quiet, so I'll speak a little bit lower. Is that fine?
Yeah, of course. You're fine.
Right. So my father got out of prison 4 years, Grand Theft Auto, and he suffered with drugs a lot of drug issues. And it's quite funny because he got out of prison at 40. He was 40 years old when he got out of prison. And his father, my grandfather, who also has passed away, he told him, when you're 40, you're going to learn and you're going to straighten yourself and you're going to see life differently. You're going to, be a new man. And I thought that was kind of, he got out of prison at 40. He's going to, his I don't know what you would say, his privilege, his, what's that word? What he said, it was kind of fate that, at 40, he was going to clean himself. And then a couple months later, some issues arrived. I'm not going to bore you with this whole story, but he got into dark times and he overdosed. And, it's kind of like life. You expect something from life, like that couple who had life ahead with his children, with, his wife. I would say they were newly married.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's kind of like new perspective on life. You have a family to protect now, and it's just gone. It's destroyed because of either, something that you can't control yourself, like, a tree sadly falling into the car and causing an accident, or, doing something by your own choice and, taking your life. It is basically that, taking your own life by taking this dangerous drug that could kill you.
Yeah.
And it did. So, what I wanted to, my message kind of is just, life can be so fragile. You have an idea of what life could be. You have a goal of straightening yourself after you go through this kind of like rough patch in your life. And,
No, everything you're saying is spot on. I'll tell you that I'm gonna keep you on the phone here for my final thought of the day. And if you have any feedback, feel free to give it to me. Feel free.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're
kind
fine.
of tired.
You're fine.
But that's it. That's what I wanted to say. You can put me on hold. Yeah.
No, I'm not putting you on hold. I'm not putting you on hold. What you're saying is very, very true. And the fragility of life, which reminds us of our own mortality, it reminds us of exactly what you were just saying, that tomorrow is never guaranteed. We tend to assume it is, because for most people, fortunately, it plays out that way. But tomorrow is never guaranteed. And if we can try to hold on to that feeling, and holding on to it is the hard part, but if we can try to hold on to that feeling that tomorrow is never guaranteed for anybody, that a tree can fall down, hit your car, and it all ends. If you try to approach life that way, I think you're more likely to appreciate the value of our time, and appreciate to make the significance and importance of making use of your day, of actually getting something done, of actually making your environment a healthier place. I'll tell you that when I think about this guy who I met several times, so about the man who died, the very young man who died, I met him several times. And like, if I had to tell you all something about him, I'll tell you, he always seemed genuinely happy and like a good person. Like the type of person who it's like, I told my wife that when she visits the widow, because I don't expect to go, I'm probably not going to end up going. Only because I feel like I would make her feel more awkward by being there than not. If I thought I would help her, I would certainly go. But I do think it'll be awkward for her if I visit with Lady Logic. But I told her to tell her, and I expect she will, that her husband was someone who you look at him and you think, I hope my kid grows up like that. And in a sense that he just seemed like someone who you want to be around that person. He's happy, good, taking care of people, and just has a healthy perspective about life and the world. And it just exudes from him. You just want to be around someone like that. And it's a reminder that we should always try to be the thing that we admire, and try to make ourselves that on a day-by-day basis, because tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. There's some lessons he taught me. Since young, you could see, my father in this situation, my father, the effects that life with drugs cost him. And that way, you kind of learn from him. And, thank God I never touched a cigarette, never touched a vape. I know I see you every time touching a vape, and that's kind of like, gives me, I wish you could quit, but I know it's hard because my mother also has that.
Yeah.
Me voy afuera. Sorry, Mr. Logic. I'll
No
leave you.
worries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good
We'll
night.
talk later. Yeah, you too. Bye.
Take care. Yeah, I don't know if you're still watching Yanzo, but if you can try and take the healthy lessons that you learned from your father and incorporate that as part of who you develop into, that's the best way you can bring honor to his memory. So, yeah, that was his mother in the background. The tree story I brought up at the very beginning of the show, where I said this weekend was a little rough for me because a young woman who practically grew up in my house because she was my daughter's best friend and lived across the street, became a widow. And she's a mother. She was a wife and a mother. She's a mother of 3 who range in age from 5 down to a year. The oldest is 5, and that he was driving. A tree. It was a windy day, and a tree basically blew over, crashed through his car. And actually, the tree didn't even hit him, but it just caused his car to swerve, and he ended up crashing and dying. They tried rushing to the hospital to save him, and their efforts were in vain, unfortunately. So now she's this young woman, who's a really good person, a mother, is now a widow. One more call. Give me $2. Take one more call. Fine. What's your area code? Do you want me to call you? If that's what you mean by one more call, tell me your area code, and if you called in, I'll call you back. How about that? How about that? You don't need to apologize. You don't need to apologize. I hope you went back and heard what I was suggesting to you. If not, you can go back like 30 seconds. You're the 425 area code? I don't even see that area code. I don't see that number here on my list. Oh, there it is. There it is. All right, I found you. All right. Quick call, though, right? I'm calling the 425 number. Shouldn't go down. Don't allow yourself to prevent connecting and sharing with the widow in this time of need.
Please leave your message for.
Sorry, I tried. I really tried. No, you don't understand. Okay, maybe I didn't express myself properly. When we have in the Orthodox Jewish community, when there's a death, the mourners, which is the immediate families, that would be spouse, parents, children, are all in mourning. For a week afterwards, they go through a process called sitting Shiva, during which time there's all sorts of restrictions on what they're allowed to do. And they will sit in one of those restrictions, they're supposed to stay in the same house. Now they can leave but they're not supposed to be traveling around. And people are encouraged to come visit them. It's called a house of mourning. The house is referred to as a house of mourning. And people come visiting them to try and bring them some sort of relief. Typically, the men and women who are in mourning, because it's family usually, they don't tend to sit interspliced with each other, because we don't really do the whole gender meshing thing. Like, women sort of stick with women and men stick with men. So if I was to come there and sit down there, it would already be like a noticeable thing. They're like, oh, there's a man sitting here, which is unusual because there's almost certainly going to be a couple of dozen women sitting, like they sort of sit like in a row, and they'll have like men and then, women. That's about the mourners, right? So they'll be sitting like, or opposite sides, doesn't really matter which side, but basically that they'll be like sitting like that, like in a row next to each other is often what it is. And then it'll just be like rows of chairs facing them, and people will come and sit down and talk to them. And almost as if they're on a panel, but they're actually sitting in low chairs because that's part of the mourning is that they're supposed to be sitting on low chairs. So the women who show up, like when my mother passed and I was sitting in Shiva. So you might end up sitting like next to each other. Sometimes you'll be even in a different room. But like the women tend to come visit and sit with the women, and the men come sit with the men. It's not like it must be that way. For example, when I was, it's called sitting Shiva, that process when you're mourning. When I was sitting Shiva, my mother-in-law, I was sitting Shiva for my mother. So my mother-in-law came and she sat and talked to me, as did, my sisters-in-law. Family will come and sit with you and try to make you feel better, irrespective of gender. But it would have been weird for some woman to come sit and talk to me, unless like I really knew that woman very well, going back to like my youth. And it's true, I sort of know her, but it's not like she's someone I ever would talk to. I would never talk to her one-on-one. If she was sitting with my daughter, I would talk to her, I would talk to my daughter and her together. That's just the nature of how we interact with each other, is that there's an understood, unspoken sort of barrier between the genders in that sort of way. So for me to go where she's sitting in mourning and breach that barrier, I think would make her feel uncomfortable. Beyond any solace I could offer her, she'd be sitting there the entire time, almost embarrassed that I would come and sit there and talk to her because of that unspoken barrier. And I'd be doing it to her in front of likely half a dozen, or several dozen women. So that's not something that's going to make her feel comfortable. It's not something that's going to be giving her solace. If anything, I'll be making her uncomfortable during this difficult period. That's the last thing I want to do, especially when I can so easily convey that, pretty much the sum of my message in that one simple and more powerful statement that I gave Lady Logic to say. Because I was like, I can't think of a bigger compliment to give someone than he's the type of person which people want their children to grow up to be like. So it's not a matter of me feeling uncomfortable. I don't feel uncomfortable in these circumstances, but I do know I have enough respect to understand that others would. He has a father, brother, uncles that you can say with understand Lady Logic to help with the wife. But I don't know them. They won't know me. The only one in the room that I will know is the widow. See what I'm saying? Like I only met him through the widow. I was invited to the wedding. I mean, I know the widow's parents. I'm friends with her father. He's my age range. And if I see him, I'll sit and talk to him. But he's not one of the people who's sitting in Shiva because he's not, you're not in mourning for a son-in-law or, a daughter-in-law, whatever. The people you sit in mourning for, like I said, a sibling, a parent, or a child. Even a grandparent wouldn't be sitting in mourning. That's just the way our rules work. So he's not going to be sitting. The one I'm friends with is her father, and he wouldn't be sitting there. And the other people there, the men who would be sitting there, if they're there, they don't always sit together. It's not always one house of mourning. Sometimes they'll break up in different houses depending on what works best for them. So I don't know. I don't know this young man's father, brother, or his side of the family at all. I want to apologize for being a bit of a dick last show, but it's tough with the name and all. But in my defense, I have a video for you to review. All in podcast show title, fixating. All in podcast show titled Fixing Housing from 30 to 35 Minutes. All in podcast show titled Fixing Housing from 30 to 35 Minutes. Podcast.
All right, everybody. Chamath is here.
I assume that this is what you're talking about.
All right, everybody.
Which is this right here. And this episode is called Home Affordability Crisis, Palantir's Advantage, Big Short and AI, H1 Abuse, Solar Storm Hits Earth, and you're saying from 30 to 35 minutes. I'll try to check this out, and I'll see if I can work this in at some point. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I'm not going to do it now. All right. All right, my friends. I thank you all for joining me. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'll have gladder tidings. What I do have great tidings is I won my guillotine league. I've never been in a guillotine league before, so I'm like 1-0 in being in these things. It's a pretty cool feeling. I'm trying to figure out the right level of trash talk to give in my WhatsApp group here for these guys. I'll let you know what I come up with. Probably I won't. But I thank you all for joining me. I'm going to remind you that lab meat was never meant for you. It's for they, them. You know that, obviously. Otherwise, why would you be here? Anyone who's been here, well, maybe John's new. John, if you're new, lab meat was never meant for you. It's meant for they, them. And also, as they say, do not eat the bugs. Don't eat the bugs. Don't eat the bugs. I thank you all for joining me. Have a great night. And as always, Godspeed.